So we have Ortner in for Jordan. Sook's seat is empty, and I'm here. How are you? What's going on, Will?
Not much, man. Glad we got to the bottom of that.
Yeah, here it is.
Whoa!
Remember when he said that?
No, I don't. What was he? Was he surfing at that point? What was that noise?
Yeah, it sounded a little bit like Bart Simpson, huh? No, there's, like we've been doing this ahoy or what it do ahoy thing for a while. I don't know. It's supposed to fake the energy, and all
as long as I can remember, dude.
Yeah, and so one day, like of all the days we've been doing shows together, only one time has he screwed up his ahoy. I mean, he just absolutely whiffed.
Ahoy!
So that's what he usually does. One day he did this.
Whoa!
And then he said this.
I lost it there. Ahoy! How about that?
So, yeah, I don't know what that was, but it was a one-off. He's not here today. He's taking a personal day. He is going to be back tomorrow. What a day to miss, though, huh?
Well, I mean, everyone talks about it coming in threes. This seems like the perfect day for that third shoe to finally drop.
Wait, who died?
Well, his career died.
Yeah, you're talking about Belichick. I was, I don't know if you had this thought. Here's a random thought. Before we really dive into all of this, and by the way, Dan Lanning's staying at Oregon. So there.
Well, it doesn't come in fours.
Right. Exactly.
His coaching career in Oregon didn't die.
It is wild that we lost. I mean, dude, let's just go back to 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, Alabama had won a title. The Seahawks were 12-4. I know that because I looked it up. And the Patriots had Cam Newton. They were kind of doing the transition out of Tom Brady, but there was no indication that Belichick was we didn't know how Belichick was going to do without Brady, right?
Right.
So go back to 3 years ago, and I tell you on these airwaves, I don't even know if you were here 3 years ago, Will, but
I was not. I was in college.
Yeah, so you're in college. If I told you 3 years ago that all three of those coaches will be gone in 3 years, all on pretty much the same day, you'd say I was high.
I'd have been like, thanks for finally answering my DMs.
What?
I DM'd you a couple times.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dude, why would you respond?
Blow you off?
Well, I was just trying to get a job shadow.
Oh,
like, yes,
dude, I'm sorry.
Finally.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I'll go check him now. I'll respond now.
You could have been my
Is
radio.
it too late?
You could have been my radio mentor, not Dusty.
Oh, damn, man. Sorry, man. I don't like doing that. I always like to respond to the youngs.
It's not like you're on Twitter a lot. It's okay.
Well, that's true. For a year, I was just completely. I didn't even check them. So I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, the youngs. When the youngs come a calling, I'm. Somebody did that for me, so I do that for the young. So I
didn't take offense. I did not take offense to it.
Making me feel terrible.
It's you and
I would.
You and DK Metcalf and Summer Rae.
Metcalf didn't get back to you?
No. Well,
he was Summer Rae.
That's quality Instagram Google there for you, bud. Okay. I gotcha. No, DK, he was dating a girl at Central, and so I was like, you want to come on my college radio show, dude?
Whoa.
He was not pro that.
Did he respond to you at least?
I got left on scene.
You got what? What does that mean?
It's when they have
adult.
That is adult. It's a younger adult. It's when you have text messages, you can set it up to have read. You'll have your read receipts.
Yeah,
right.
Sure.
He had his on Twitter, and it just said "seen."
So he saw it and
clearly saw it.
By the way, Summer Rae, super hot. What do you think you're going to get out of DMing her? I mean, no offense to you.
Look, dude. Let's not act like I was like, it's a Tuesday at noon. Like, let's send this text message. It was a shot in the dark on like a late Friday night. Yeah, why not?
I got you.
Who cares?
Made a mistake. Yeah, you're right. Who cares? But man, she is. What's her deal?
I just said sup. She's like the original.
Did you really? You DM her and it just says sup?
Sup. Yeah.
That's how it happens, huh?
I want to know what was going on.
She checks your profile, finds you good looking, and then says, sup.
Back then I had beautiful hair.
God.
We could have talked about hair ties together.
What could have been? You and Summer Rae.
Me and Summer Rae.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't answer your DM. Anyway, 3 years ago, think back to that. They're all gone. 3 years. It's crazy. Life comes at you fast. And I was going to say this too. I was thinking before we get into this, I was watching the Bill Belichick press conference today going, well, it wasn't really his press conference. It was like the coverage before his press conference. And it was as if the guy died. Like there's something so wrong with, I think it's an East Coast thing. It's like the East Coast media.
There's not a lot else to do.
Because when Pete Carroll left or was forced out, out here, it was more celebratory, right? It was like, oh man, that guy was great. And kind of celebrating Pete's career. It was as if Bill Belichick died today on ESPN.
But I also think that shows you the different personalities of each head coach. I mean, Pete Carroll he's much more jovial. He seems like the type of guy that when he does die, he would want a celebration at his funeral, not a somber event. I don't really feel like Bill understands how to have fun, or like his version of fun is breaking down defenses that he's about to go against or offenses. So I think that leads to more of a somber tone. It's also the end of that dynasty. I mean, he was there for 24 years.
I get it. It's a big deal, but it's not as if he died. It's just, it's like, I don't know.
Well, think about it this way. He's been the head coach at New England for all but 2 years of my life.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It is, but you're also very young.
I appreciate you saying
You're
that.
not that old.
I appreciate that.
But yeah, I mean, no, you don't have to explain the greatness of Bill Belichick in that run. I fully get it. It's just, I don't know. It was very somber. It was like the time Nick Faldo had his last broadcast on CBS on golf.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You would have thought he was dying. They were all crying, and it's just, I don't know. Something about that bothers me. I would have gone on there laughing. They should have had me on ESPN today. I've been laughing like, dude, that guy sucks. 4-13. Get out of here.
He deserved to be fired.
Yeah.
Hey man, he made Mac Jones a Pro Bowl quarterback.
He did. I was
People
looking back.
forget.
They went 10-7 with Mac Jones. I don't know what happened, but
Well,
that was when they didn't have an OC either, right?
No, they had an OC. I think that was the last year of McDaniels.
Are you sure?
I believe so.
Yeah,
The
you might
next
be right.
year is when they were like, let's take our defensive coordinator and we'll make him an offensive coordinator and no one will see it
Who
coming.
else could get away with that besides the great Bill Belichick? Think of
He didn't
seriously.
get away with it.
Well, that's true. He didn't. But it was like, that is such a wildly underrated, terrible move. Like, nobody talks about it. What the hell was he thinking? And of course, they sucked. And then they sucked again. And now it's like he's, I don't know. That it's so interesting to me that they're saying Belichick will get another job, maybe Atlanta, and Pete won't. They're the same age. I feel like Pete's more sort of modern day football than Bill. I guess you just want Bill's defensive brain, but
I think you want to be the one who breaks the record. Like you get to be the trivia question or the answer to the trivia question. What team did Bill Belichick break the all-time coach wins record?
he needs 16. Is that what it is?
Well, that's the thing. Like some are 16, some are 28. Like if you include playoffs, he needs 28 to catch George Halas. If you just include regular season, I think it's 15 to catch Shula.
Yeah, I think that's the one everybody's talking about.
Right.
Shula, the regular season one, because he already has the most postseason wins.
Right. It's the combination of them where Halas gets him because Halas played back when electricians and plumbers are coached, I guess.
Oh, God. Here we go with that.
Welcome to my young opinions.
Yeah. This show is going to be a disaster.
You've had a good show where it was just me and you before. It was fun.
No, I know. Will Ortner is in. Suka's out. He'll be back tomorrow. Let's get our poll question in right away. It's already up there on X at 1080 The Fan. AAA Heating and Cooling, family business helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Today, we're asking you, who is the coaching GOAT? Nick Saban, Bill Belichick, Phil Jackson, or John Wooden? Vote hard. Yesterday, we asked, which coach would you most want for your NFL team? Jim Harbaugh winning 45%. Mike Vrabel, 39%. Nick Saban, 10%. Pete Carroll, only 6%. So today, if you missed it, Belichick is out after a couple of days of talking with Robert Kraft about his future. He said he really didn't have any hard feelings. It's time for him to move on. Sounds like it was amicable. They talked it out. Robert Kraft, man, I got a lot of respect for that guy. His logic is sound, if not rare. Let me read you a couple quotes of what he said at his press conference today about, his thought process here, because it's tough. 24 years. He's the greatest of all time. He won 6 rings. Could have easily been 8. maybe even, 8. Although they could have easily lost the Seattle one. They would be 5-4 in Super Bowl. Still, I mean, Bill Belichick's the GOAT. And he said, the last 3 years have been pretty tough. And I know for our dedicated fans and myself and in life, I just learned that things happen. Our family is the custodian of this asset, the New England Patriots. We know how important it is to the psyche of the community, and what's gone on here the last 3-4 years isn't what we want. We have a responsibility to do what we can do to fix it to the best of our ability. I don't think a lot of owners think that way, right? Like, just him saying we're the steward or the custodian of this asset, I think that's a pretty unique thought process for a rich owner who usually just, it's all about them. He said they talked about, it says earlier in the week, Belichick met with New England media and insinuated that he could be open to relinquishing some personnel control if he returned. They asked Kraft about that. He said, yeah, we thought about that, but I've had experiences running different businesses and trying to develop a team. Think about it. When you had someone like Bill who's had control over every decision, every coach we hired, the organization reports to him on the draft, how much money we spend, every decision has been his. We've always supported him. To then take some of that power away and give it to someone else, accountability is important to me. Where he had the responsibility and someone else takes it, it's going to set up confusion. It wouldn't work, in my opinion. He added, all of us need checks and balances in our life. Also, another, a very good thought from his experiences owning companies. And then he said, I'm fortunate in our family, our businesses are all private. And so we try to create a culture and develop an environment where people want to stay and stay long term. Yeah, I guess if you look at this as a transaction, Belichick is so valuable and how he could extract something. They're talking about trading Belichick. This is true of Brady, too. He could have traded Brady, knowing that Brady wanted out. He could have traded Belichick. He said, I didn't think it was right. I didn't think it was right for Tom Brady, who gave us 20 years, and I don't think it's right for Bill. Each of them earned the right to be in the position where they should do what's right for us, given what they have done for this franchise. Some people might criticize me for not extracting that as value, and I understand that, but we just try to do what we think is right for the proper values and ability to operate and try to get people to want to come and feel that we're going to treat them fairly. Dude, Robert Kraft, that's as good as it gets from an owner right there, because I'm guessing that was not an easy decision to part ways with the great Bill Belichick, even though they were atrocious this past year. So Belichick is out. Who is the coaching GOAT? Saban, Belichick, Jackson, or Wooden? Vote on X at 1080 The Fan. When we get back, we have audio. Dan Lanning is staying. 313 on The Fan.
The Blazers limp into 2024.
Scoot is starting to figure some stuff out, and just talking to him, you can see it in his eyes. You can see it in how he's getting more comfortable.
How long will the fan base be patient?
Who are you developing at the 3? Who are you going to be trading in the next couple weeks? And that's the other part, is we have 2 point guards.
Talk about it and get the inside story on your home for all-day Trailblazers coverage. 1080.
Why are you playing harder tonight? Come on.
The Fan.
Now, here's a quick look at Portland traffic.
Slow traffic right now, both directions of I-5. There's a crash there near Skidmore, and that's causing those delays. Also seeing delays on eastbound 26. Wow, it's backed up from the Oregon Zoo getting into Portland. I'm Casey, that's traffic.
PG Long has the product, the team, and the know-how to get your flooring job done now. You don't have to have your construction job delayed waiting on the supply. You don't have to train your drywall guy to install floors. And you don't have to do it yourself. PG Long has all the flooring you need on hand, the crew's ready to go, and more than 50 years experience
realized also that, Will, we may have to explain to you who that is.
I know who John Wooden is.
Okay, good.
Coached at UCLA, Pyramid of Success.
Have you read it?
I've looked at the pyramid.
Yeah.
I look closer at Pete Carroll's, but I looked at it. I'm aware of it.
If you had to learn from one of those guys, who would you most want to learn from? I think it might be Petey for me.
It's 100% Pete because he's the most normal, I would assume.
Yeah, he's just cool. He's fun. Culture setter, man.
He's a nice guy.
Good dude.
Up-tempo, upbeat.
Yeah, Belichick was an a-hole. Or is. He is.
Very much so.
But, you got to give him credit because a lot of coaches are like that. The heavy-handed, drill sergeant type coach, he's like that. But he did it better than all the other a-holes. So you got to give him credit, man. And looking back, that Belichick, Pete Carroll Super Bowl, that looks more and more epic. Not just the way it ended.
Right.
But that whole game was awesome.
Back and forth, whole way. And
Petey.
2 top 10 coaches?
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
The greatest of all time. And then Pete, who's, I think, just criminally underrated. I mean, the guy won titles in college and pro. It's just...
A lot of people were doing that meme where you got the 2 scary dragons and then you got the 3rd, like, goofy face dragon. And they were saying Saban, Belichick, scary dragons, Pete, goofy face dragon.
Don't agree.
I vastly disagree. I mean, how many people have titles in college and in the NFL?
Exactly.
In multiple different decades, too.
And Pete, maybe they're doing that just because Pete is kind of goofy, but I wholeheartedly reject that. You tell him I said that, too.
I'll go online and I'll tell Coley Mick to shut up.
That's right.
From Isaac Rock. I'll be your burner if you want.
I have a burner.
You do?
Yeah.
I remember Sook's burner.
Yeah.
Thought about making one myself, but...
I never use it, though. I just use the fan one.
You use the fan as your burner?
I just look through Twitter through the fans account. Coming up next, Hugh Offill is going to join us. We're going to get Hugh Betcha back on the air because it is Wild Card Weekend. It's getting totally overshadowed by a wild week. But the bigger news here locally is that the Alabama job still not filled, but it will not be Dan Lanning. Dan Lanning announces he is staying, and quite frankly, it was a really cool way to announce you're staying. He did another one of those Oregon, hype videos, and here's what it sounded. He posted it to his social media, and here's what it sounded like.
Who has goals and aspirations? Raise your hand up. All right, everybody got goals and aspirations. You know how you get those? You be the best where you're at. If that's how you reach goals and aspirations, that's how great things happen. It's not about worrying about the next thing. It's about worrying what's right in front of you, 6 inches right in front of your face. I want to remind you guys what that means. You guys that just got here don't know them, right? But it means something to be an Oregon Duck. Everybody makes what? They all make commitments to things that they're going to do. A lot of starters. The world doesn't have a lot of what? Finishers. We're finishing.
I want to be here in Eugene for as long as Eugene will have me. This place has everything that I could possibly ever want. There's a little bit of a problem in society today with people looking for what's next and where there's an opportunity. And the reality is, the grass is not always greener. In fact, the grass is damn green in Eugene.
And then he says, on the end, it just in quotes, it says, "I'm not leaving." And he posted that to his social media. So I get it. It was a tad scary for you Duck fans. We talked about this yesterday. PTSD from the last 2 coaches. And, there's a reason why he was speaking so confidently about staying at Oregon last month or whenever that was, November, when the A&M job opened. It's because Oregon took care of him behind the scenes, man. Done. Took care of him. Phil Knight, let's go. Well, seriously.
Feldman was also saying that his buyout, everyone was saying $20 million. Yeah. It sounds like it was even higher than that.
Well, I think Feldman might have been referring to the idea that Phil has sweetened the pot for Dan with Nike stock. There's that.
Dan has Nike stock?
Well,
good to be Dan.
Phil does.
Good to be Dan.
Perhaps, a scenario where Dan stays long enough, he gets X amount of Nike. Yeah,
Dan's in the will now?
It's all speculation. Dan might be in the will now. And in that case, Dan is not going anywhere.
When I die, Dan gets 10% of Nike.
Man, let's be honest. Phil Knight has the ability to solidify the coach as best he can, right? And I think that without knowing details behind the scenes, one of the reasons why Dan Lanning spoke so confidently about staying at Oregon is they took care of him. And now, you know what I think this means now, which is great for Oregon fans. I mean, it was trepidatious for Oregon fans yesterday. Today, you guys got to be over the moon because I think this means Lanning is your guy for a long time. He's not going anywhere. The Alabama job opened, and he turned it down. Think about that. I mean, just the idea that an Oregon coach is not interested in the Alabama job is wild. And it shows you how far Oregon has come, but it also says that Oregon has stepped up to take care of Dan Lanning. The other part of it is Dan Lanning is and has showed you that he is a very loyal guy. He's a man of substance. That's why he can speak so emphatically about staying. He's a man of his word. He's not a ladder climber. He knows that the grass isn't always greener. He has told us that, and he has shown us that. It's refreshing that in this day and age of us never believing a word a coach ever says ever, that with him you can. And you know what's weird about Lanning is he already feels like a legend here. And he hasn't won much of anything yet. But his swagger, that cigar vid, you know, he put him puffing on that, you know, that classic cigar moment that he had. I forget what that was.
That was after his first year recruiting.
Is that what it was?
Like the National Signing Day?
Signing Day, that's right.
Because he flipped like 4 or 5 kids. Mateo Uyunglele.
He threw that at the end of the video. If you haven't seen the video that we just played the audio of, go watch it. Great way to tell your fan base you're staying put. Because the quotes where he was talking to the team, that was all from the meeting. I guess that was yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it would have been yesterday. Or maybe it was this morning.
It might have been before, honestly. Like he might have taken audio from a meeting before because
yeah, maybe.
Right now, you're not having a whole lot of team meetings in college
I guess
football.
That's true.
It's kind of more of a break, or you're in the weight room, but there's not a lot of meetings going on.
But he was not in Tuscaloosa last night, as social media would suggest to you, which is another reason why.
A news reporter?
Yeah, the KVAL guy, right?
Whoops. Egg on your face, buddy.
Yeah, the KVAL. So that's the station in Eugene.
Yeah.
That dude, their sports guy, was the one he said he apparently used to work in Tuscaloosa. He said last night on TV that Dan Lanning was in Tuscaloosa. And he was not. And we know that because, well, people at Oregon were reporting that, but also Lanning went on Pat McAfee today.
It was a distraction last night. My 13-year-old son, Caden, we just started watching the Jason Bourne movie. We were on Jason Bourne, and my phone's blowing up, and it's like, Dad, it says you're in Tuscaloosa right now. It's like, we're watching Jason Bourne. Focus on the movie. Put your phone on, do not disturb. So it interrupted what we were in on last night. But yeah, we got great players that we're looking to sign. All that became a distraction for sure. You got players on our team reaching out, and they know where I'm at. 10 toes down.
10 toes down. I love that. So you always gotta consider the sources when this stuff is flying around on social media. Maybe you just use it as it's just fun and speculation and it doesn't really mean much. Maybe you believe it, maybe you don't. But he was not in Tuscaloosa last night. He was sitting on his couch watching a Bourne movie with his kid. For God's sakes, people.
He was basically doing with his kid what Dusty is trying to do with me, making his kid watch movies from his childhood.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. I think it's a parent's responsibility to do that. Your dad failed you.
That's what I'm being told. I watched Dumb and Dumber. That was funny.
Well, look, what we know of Lanning and the way he's wired, I think for him to leave, it would have to be all about timing. I think if a certain job opened, let's say Georgia, and it was at the moment that he's unhappy about his support, or, you know, he's fighting over contract details, or the team is trending down, then you sweat. But as long as you give him what he needs and show him that you appreciate him and take care of him as best you can, which you have, that man is committed. He knows he can win here. He's building it, and they're close, really close. And the other thing, too, before we move on to Hugh coming up next, and then we'll get back to Lanning, Belichick, and all this big news today, but he understands. Oh, the other thing in that video, which you didn't hear in the clip that we played on the radio, but in the video, there is another quote from him that they put on the screen that says, if you're worried about your coach leaving, come play for us.
Yeah.
Which I thought that was a great line.
Mm-hmm.
He understands that one of the biggest detractors in recruiting is coach uncertainty. So that's why he put that line in there. And he knows you have to be emphatic about stability. It helps in recruiting. He is using his full commitment to this job to his advantage. And, like I said, the guy's sort of an Oregon legend already. Just by this move right here. Not to say he can't leave or won't leave, but because I'm thinking back to Roy Williams when I was at Kansas. Roy Williams is like, I'm staying, and everybody was, you're a hero. 3 weeks later, he was at North Carolina. And I'm not saying that would happen with Lanning, but I think eventually, you never say never with coaches, obviously. But I just think with Lanning, we believed him when he spoke. He's intentional when he speaks. And I think it makes it very easy for him to stay at Oregon. One, Oregon's a hell of a job. And two, they've taken good care of him. And he understands the value of, like he said in that clip, just sticking around, and your goals are where you are at the time. You can't be looking ahead. You can't be looking around. Forget it.
I think it also shows how the donors and how the fans treat him, because I do think that there would be some leniency at Oregon if there was a down year or there was an off year that I don't think he would have necessarily at Alabama. And he's been at Alabama, he's been at Georgia, he's been in these big time programs down in the South. And I think he understands it's not just one donor that you have to appease. And you're not going to have the ability to appease all of those donors because they're going to have their own beliefs on how the football program should look and how they should play.
A lot of cooks in the kitchen.
There's
in some of those programs.
There's like one cook in the Oregon kitchen, maybe two.
Yeah, no, that's right. Why would you want to follow Nick Saban? The expectations are impossible there now. Yeah, absolutely impossible. He knows that. So just the idea that an Oregon coach says no to Alabama, that is just so wild to me. And it's such a testament to Oregon. Now, who does Washington hire to replace Kalen DeBoer? Hey-oh! What? Let's get to that later. But up next, let's look at Wild Card Weekend, man. We haven't had any opportunity to talk about these games yet. Hugh Offill, the sportsbook manager at A&A, for a segment we call Hugh Betcha, is coming up next. Here's Louisville Sports Center. They might. More on that coming up at 5:15. Dave Bartu, he has the Rona, but he's going to come on. He's not coming in here, but he's going to come on via the phone at 5:15 and tell us what he thinks about the Alabama coaching hire. But for the moment, let's take a look at Wild Card Weekend. Let's bring back Hugh Opfill, A&A Sportsbook Manager, for a segment we like to call Hugh Betcha. Hugh, what's up, man? How we doing?
Everything's great, man. Everything's great. How you doing?
Doing good. It's going to be a cold and maybe snowy weekend, so we have money to win sitting on our couch watching NFL playoffs, or if you can make it out, getting up to A&A and sitting down there and having a pop watching these games. There's some pretty good matchups. I'm just going to go chronologically. The first one is going to be Saturday, 1:30, Browns-Texans in Houston. Now, they've already played, and the Browns won in Houston, although C.J. Stroud didn't play in that game. Who do you have more trust in, the veteran Flacco or the rookie Stroud?
It might boil down to which defense do I have more, think highly of more so. The Browns defense is so good. I know Stroud can do some magical things. And, Flacco has stepped in and done everything. He has managed everything very, very well. I think I would probably lean toward Cleveland just a little bit. Tough on the road, and Stroud can do great things, but that defense is brutal.
It's nuts what Flacco's been able to do. By the way, the spread on that game, Cleveland is favored by 2 in Houston. Are you as shocked as I am that Joe Flacco is throwing for 300 yards a game for Cleveland?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, when you watched him play for the Jets, and maybe it was because he didn't have any protection at all, and he looked terrible. He has stepped in here and done exactly what he needed to do. Has found receivers. It's pretty remarkable what he's been able to do.
Good fit. All right, so Saturday night at 5, Dolphins Chiefs in Kansas City. What does because they're saying possibly 0 degrees and a negative wind chill for this game. What does a cold temperature like that? What does super cold weather like that do to a game, in your opinion?
Both of these teams know exactly what it is like to play in these cold games, and they're pretty much. The veterans can help the younger guys out to what they're doing. And one thing that happens is both teams are playing it. It isn't like one team can just deal with it. It's just bloody cold. And I don't think that it will have an effect, but it has an effect on everybody. Has the over-under dropped a bunch because of that news that it would be so cold? It's just dropped a half a point. We opened 44. It's down to 43.5 now. I have heard more under wagers today, but sometimes you can take a cold weather game and you think, oh my goodness, it's not going to be anything like this, and next thing you know, it's 30-20 and it's 50 points scored. Now I know you're a Chiefs fan, so try to be impartial for me here, but am I the only one who is not writing off Miami? Oh, I'm not writing off Miami at all, because at even plus 4.5 points, they can run the football, and if they're able to do that, and, keep the offense off the field and grind it out. Tua makes some, good pass completions and stuff like that. I wouldn't write them off at all. I think that they have the injuries is probably the biggest thing that is hurting Miami. Defensively, they didn't hardly have any edge rushers left. But like you say, taking off the fandom of it all, I tell you what, plus 4.5 in a game that's going to be really cold like this could come down to 3 either way. Stuff not to take. Yeah, I agree. I think I might be on Miami, but I might throw them in a teaser just to be safe. But I also think the weather brings that down to just kind of in Kansas City's offense. I mean, Kansas City's offense hasn't been great. I know they have a good defense, but they're not the same. No, they've dropped more balls than anybody in the league this year, and I don't think the cold weather is going to help that any. Right. Yeah, and then the other side, Miami's they're home run hitters. They can still get a home run or two. And Mostert, you mentioned their run game. Mostert, 12 carries, 85 yards, and a tutty the first time they played, even though Kansas City won. Yep. So you're right. All right. So that wraps up Saturday. Sunday, we get Steelers-Bills, 10 a.m. The spread is Buffalo minus 10. Steelers have a terrible track record without T.J. Watt. Where would your money go if you bet this one? 10 points in in a playoff game. It's so difficult. It is a lot. And again, you're talking weather could not, I'm sure it's going to be plenty cool in Buffalo. But you look at the offensive weapons that Pittsburgh has, and look, Rudolph has done good things in what he's played in this last little run of his. But it will be hard for me to go against the home team. Like you say, you might want to tease it down just a little bit, tease Buffalo down a little bit. But I certainly think Buffalo is going to be the one that wins this game.
Packers, Cowboys, Dallas awfully tough at home. That'd be the second game on Sunday. What do you make of the Packers' chances here? 7.5 point dogs.
I think pretty good chances, but sometimes, one thing I was going through as I was making my numbers here, that when you see Green Bay, they have played fairly well. Dallas has played really, really well at home. The 7.5 to me is wanting to suck the public into it. Look, this is the side you got to take. You're going to take a touchdown and
Green Bay.
7.5.
They're basically enticing you to take Green Bay.
Correct, and that's why I would take the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, simply because this is the numbers I made. I made Dallas 10, and I think that it just. I had to go back through it because I thought Green Bay has played really, really well, but I just don't. To me, it's one of those things that again is trying to suck you into. My first thought was, my God, you got to take 7.5 points. It's just something. Actually, we are down to Dallas -7, so. I think I would play the home team.
Yeah, but I think so too. That's another good one to tease. If you want to just tease down, Dallas only has to win. But yeah, I think for me, it comes back to Green Bay's defense. I don't know that they slow Dallas down, especially at home.
Correct. Especially at home.
Now, here's a side that I like. When I look at all these, none of the sides really jumped out at me. Toying with Cleveland. I do like Miami in a teaser, maybe a Miami-Dallas teaser. A side I like is this Sunday night game. I love the Lions. They're only laying 3 against the Rams, also a team that's very good at home, Detroit. Talk me off of that, or will you?
For the last 3-4 weeks, I have thought once the Rams clinched the playoff spot, because they were playing really well, and then they got their playoff spot, that is the one team I thought nobody wants to play. Defensively, they're playing really tough. Stafford's not hurt. He's as healthy as he has been in any time of this time of year. I think that some of the tight end injuries with Laporta being hurt for Detroit. Like I said, I have been on the train that said I wouldn't want to play the Rams, and I think it would be very, very careful here in this matchup.
Okay.
Just a defensive thing. The Rams have played really, really well, and a healthy Stafford. There's a lot of dynamics to him going back to Detroit to play this playoff game. No more pressure is going to be on him. I have gone back and forth, but I think I'd probably play the Rams.
Wow. All right. Monday night is Eagles-Bucks. Now, I was certain, you and I were talking just the other day up there. I told you, I said, I was certain the Eagles are first round and out. But then they go play Tampa. You see the matchup and you're like, well, it's Tampa. Maybe the weakest of all the playoff teams, maybe. Arguably. So now I'm kind of waffling. I think I'm still taking the Bucks, but what do you think? It's Philly -3, still favored in Tampa on Monday night.
I agree with you. It's tough for me not to take the Buccaneers. I realize that, no pun intended, Hurts got hurt with his finger getting just blasted. Something's wrong with Philadelphia, and I do not know what it is. What do they say? They've fallen and they can't get up. That's what it seems like. That's what it feels like. To just get blasted by the Giants and you have the division on the line. I don't know what the fix is. I don't know what to get them. I kept thinking, they're going to right the ship. They're going to right the ship. They haven't they haven't gotten themselves straight at all. And everybody's, nobody believes in Mayfield and what the Bucs can do. And they're at home and you're going to give them points. And I think it's hard not to take Tampa.
I know it's one of those where anytime you get the better defense at home catching points, that's not a bad bet in the NFL. And you're right. The Eagles, we just need to trust our eyes. They are not right. So that's a rematch too. The Eagles won the first matchup in Tampa 25-11 earlier in the season. What is your pick of the week, Hugh?
My pick of the week is Cleveland.
Okay.
I like Cleveland this week. It's tough because fan wise, I really like Stroud and what he can do, but I just don't know that defense is something else. And the Browns have proven defensively what they can do, and I don't think they're afraid to play anybody in the AFC and worry about anything, riding that defense. And hey, Flacco's been doing what he's got to do to win.
Yeah, not even laying a field goal. I mean, only 2 points. That's juicy. All right. Have a great weekend up there. Stay warm. A Sportsbook Manager Hugh Offill. Hugh Betcha. Thank you, Hugh.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. Cleveland. I think what I'm going to do, we'll reveal our picks tomorrow. I'm toying with Cleveland. I think a Dallas-Miami teaser is interesting. And I also think getting the Bucks +3 and maybe get something on the Bucks in a teaser for Monday night, since that's the last game. You got options if you win the first leg of the teaser. Maybe that too. And then maybe he tried to talk me off the Lions. I don't know. I like Detroit. I may bet Detroit, but
that defense doesn't scare you?
Who, Rams?
No.
Oh, Detroit. Oh,
That's
absolutely.
why.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's going to be a good game, but I think threes, Detroit wins, it's probably going to be by 3, right? Like it's,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the NFL that usually lands on 3 and 7. And I feel like, I don't know, there's something about the Lions at home. I think they're going to get this one done. But now you guys are scaring me.
Well, a
little bit. Because you're right. The Lions are not very trustworthy.
They're really good at making sure every game is within one score.
Yeah, they do. They are that.
They could be blowing a team out, or they could be getting blown out, and they will find a way to make sure it's a one-score game.
Yeah. Who do you want the ball? Okay, so if you're an impartial observer to that game, who do you think you want to have the ball last? I'd say probably the Lions, right? You want the Lion. In other words, let's just say you need one of these quarterbacks to drive you down for a game-winning score. Who's going to do it?
I feel like you trust Matt Stafford more. He's proven that he can do it. Not that Jared Goff hasn't, but I just feel like...
Yeah, that was kind of a stupid question.
If you're going to go on trust, it's the Super Bowl winning quarterback.
That's a good game.
It's going to be a great game.
I love this weekend, man. Wild card weekend and divisional weekend is great too, but this is going to be some good stuff. Appreciate Hugh. We'll get him back on 3:30 next Thursday too to preview the next round of the playoffs. All right, more of what Dan Lanning said on the Pat McAfee show up next on The Fan. Many think that the insiders are all talking about Belichick to the Falcons now because Arthur Blank has always tried to get the veteran winning coach. Tried to get Parcells back in the day, apparently. So Belichick is out, but also Dan Lanning is not out. He is staying. He is remaining at Oregon. Cool video he posted this morning. He was not in Tuscaloosa last night. He was watching a movie with his kid. So he went on the Pat McAfee show today, and he said, a lot of the same stuff that we've heard him say. He said it on our show. He said it in press conferences during the season when the A&M job came up. But here's a little taste of what he said and the decision to even take the Oregon job.
Well, I think, getting your name put in the conversation speaks to what we're doing right here, right now. But yeah, this decision has been made for me since I took this job. I love what we have here. I love the support, the administration I have. I mean, we've got the things built to where we could be that team. And we just got to continue to take, steps in that direction to get where we want to be.
A friend of mine texted me, he said, power rank Oregon coaches. Lanning, Chip, Bellotti, Brooks. And I went, ooh, that's actually a pretty fun little exercise because Lanning already feels like he has legendary status. But it's probably Chip 1, although I think Lanning will surpass Chip if he stays, and it sounds like he will.
I think you could throw Bellotti on there, though, because without Bellotti, there is no Chip.
Yeah, that's right.
So does Bellotti get some of the, the payback for Chip?
I mean, he should, yeah. And then without Brooks, there's none of them because he started the whole thing. Of course, you probably don't remember that.
No.
You've probably not read about that part of it, have you, Will?
Well, he doesn't have a pyramid.
Because nothing existed before 1980. Yes, he does have a pyramid.
1990, buddy.
Oh. Well, Rich Brooks built it all. He built the foundation. He was a hell of a coach.
Well, it's his field, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that.
By the way, still out there golfing. Ran into him in Central Oregon last summer. Yeah. Loves his golf, Rich.
Is Bellotti still golfing?
He golfs, yeah. Drinks his white wine.
Wearing Chino State gear or just Oregon gear?
Dude, Bellotti was great. I don't know. I just think Chip took it to another level.
Right.
And you have to credit Bellotti and Brooks for that foundation, but Chip took it to another level. I just think and it's probably somewhat due to my man crush on Dan Lanning. I think Dan Lanning has it all. I think he's got everything it takes to get the job done and get a title at Oregon. It's going to be harder than ever because you move into the Big 10, and the tournament is now a 12-team tournament. But you just let this guy keep cooking. I think he can get it done, man. He's awesome.
I might make the argument that makes it easier, though. The 12th team, not necessarily the Big 10. I feel like with football, because it is so one and done, right? There's no 7-game series. You just need to get into the dance. And then once you're in the dance, I kind of feel like anything can happen, especially for a team that is recruiting at the level that Oregon is recruiting at right now and the amount of quarterbacks that you're getting. And I know Dylan Gabriel hasn't been in the Oregon system yet, but what he was able to do at UCF and at Oklahoma and what you were able to do with Bo Nix, and you get to keep your offensive coordinator, at least right now, that's what it looks like with Coach Stein, and what he was able to do with Bo Nix's growth, and I feel like Ty Thompson's growth, I feel like you just need to get into the dance and then anything can happen.
It's a good point that it's easier to get in and get a shot. It will be easier to do that. Even though you're in a tougher league, there are more spots, so you can drop. You can theoretically have more losses and still get in. I just think it's harder in the 12 team because you have to win more tough games. But you're right. I mean, Oregon doesn't. I mean, they recruit at a level that they could certainly be upset by a lesser team in that tournament. There's no doubt about that. But at the same time, they can beat anybody in there. There are going to be some teams in the 12-team tournament each year that really aren't capable of winning the whole thing. They're not capable of running. They don't have the talent to run through an Oregon and then a Georgia and then Ohio State.
You're also starting
3 weeks in a row
to fit the mold, right? This year was the 4th year ever where a team that won the national title wasn't a top 10 recruiter.
Mm-hmm.
Every other time that happened, it was because Cam Newton, special quarterback, Deshaun Watson, special quarterback, Trevor Lawrence, special quarterback. You are recruiting at a top 10 level, and your last quarterback in Bo Nix, special quarterback, you just weren't able to quite get over the hump. Dylan Gabriel has all the makings of a special quarterback. And then with what you can build with either Novosad or with Moore, whoever ends up getting that job after he graduates and moves on, it feels like you are getting the best of both those worlds. You are getting the special quarterback or have the ability to develop that special quarterback with the top 10 recruiting class.
Yeah, I think with Dylan Gabriel now, you got a real shot to win it next year. Because even though you jump into the Big Ten, all those guys are back. He got all those guys to come back. And then you add Gabriel. And if you look at their schedule in the Big Ten, they get Ohio State and Washington at home. And Washington, they may lose their coach. We'll talk more about that in the next segment. Is Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama? But even if they don't, they're losing a lot. They're not going to be the same next year. And you get that game at Autzen. You get Ohio State at Autzen. That's always going to be tough. And then the one thing about Michigan, that game is in Ann Arbor, but they may lose their coach. So those are your three toughest, at least on paper right now, those are your three toughest games next year in the Big 10. That's doable. And then you have Dylan Gabriel. But like I said, just get in that tournament. I just would not, I don't know. Is there something that bothers you as an Oregon fan about how Washington got pushed around by Michigan in that championship game? Because we thought Oregon and Washington were two of the best teams in the country, and they were not. They were not in the top two. It's certainly Michigan and probably Georgia. And the way Michigan was able to finish that off against Washington, does that make you worry that if you run up against a pissed off Georgia next year? Because, I tell you, that's my bet right now for next year is Georgia.
Right.
Because they're bringing everybody back. Well, a lot of guys back, including their quarterback. And the last time we saw them all pissed off, they won the championship. Like that, Kirby Smart is going to motivate the hell out of them about how they got slided, and they have something to prove next year. Like, that's my bet. I haven't seen the odds, but I would bet Georgia. Does it give you a little pause how those elite teams, Michigan and then Georgia over Oregon 2 years prior,
right?
How those games went down. Maybe Oregon and Washington aren't quite up to that level yet, because we saw Michigan play Washington and it did not go well.
Right, but also remember with Michigan and Washington, well, really with Oregon and Washington, UW doesn't recruit the same way that Oregon does. There's not the same depth,
true.
right?
That's true.
A lot of what happened with UW is you had a bunch of special forces meeting at the same time. You had 3 NFL caliber wide receivers in the same room at the same time. You had, I'm going to say he's the best quarterback to be at UW in my lifetime in Michael Penix. And then you had a very special head coach. Let's call a spade there. Kalen DeBoer could scheme up plays that guys open with the best of them, right? And so it feels like with UW, you kind of had this mesh of a perfect special season, where I feel like when you look at Oregon and the recruiting classes that they continue to bring in, those special seasons start to become kind of more the norm, like they did at Alabama under Saban, like they did under Kirby out at Georgia. And so then it just comes down to, is that year going to be your year, right? Like Michigan, their defense was so solid. There's no guy on that defense where you go, wow, they're going to be a top 5 NFL draft pick, but they're all going to play in the NFL. None of them on that defensive line were double-digit sack guys, but they were all 7, 8. They all knew how to get after the quarterback, and they could. So you can't just focus on one guy. And I feel like that's what Lanning's trying to build at Oregon.
A little more depth.
He's right. And you saw that start to take place this year, too. Uyunglele purchased those young guys. They started to make plays as the season went on. So you have to trust in the system that he's building, and this is why it takes multiple seasons to get this kind of thing done. You have to build that depth, and it takes time, and it feels like Oregon is on the right track.
All fair. Yeah, and, they got that guy from Georgia, had one of the best defenses of all time. He built that at Georgia, Dan Lanning.
Right.
So, yeah, that's why I say this guy, it seems like he has it all, and you're right about all those points, although I would again point out Oregon lost to Washington twice, actually 3 times.
Right.
0-3.
0-3.
But you're right. It does take time. And I think I think what you're saying is the trajectories of those two programs right now are very different, even though it seemed like they were 2 of the top teams. And well, they were 2 of the top teams in college football this year. Oregon is You got to feel good if you're an Oregon fan today. Now, here's the question: is Washington losing DeBoer? We'll get to that next. Let me play one other Dan Lanning clip from Pat McAfee. He went on there today, and McAfee asked him why stay at Oregon.
When I think of Oregon, I think of innovation. And we all know that college football is changing like crazy right now. And we're ahead of the curve. We've got a plan. We've got great support. If there's something I need, I can go ask for it. And, a lot of things that a lot of coaches are driven by, that's not really my motivation. It's one thing. Can we win? Can we win at a high level? Can we compete for championships? And that ability exists here. I think we have a program that can be the best in the nation as long as I keep this thing on track.
All right. Who are the favorites to land the Alabama gig? We'll have Dave Bartu coming up at 5:15. We'll talk more about it next on The Fan. in for Jordan today. Busy day. Bill Belichick out in New England. So in a span of 2 days, we lost Saban, Belichick, and Pete Carroll. I mean, dude, if you also include Coach K, in the last 2 years, we have lost 4 of the top, 5 or 6 coaches in all of sports?
In my lifetime, that's for sure. I can't think of anyone who's higher.
Well, Popovich would probably be in there, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But other than Pop,
I don't know.
There's no one else who's really bigger than that.
They're all gone. It's crazy.
I'm getting old.
You are. Dan Lanning's staying. And now the question is Kalen DeBoer staying at Washington? Now, this is interesting. So Football Scoop reporting today that 3 names are receiving serious looks from Alabama. One is Kalen DeBoer. Another is Mike Norvell at Florida State. And the third is Tommy Rees, the Alabama offensive coordinator. 2 other names they brought up that said they're gaining traction. Eli Drinkwitz, coach at Missouri. Very good coach, even though I hate to say that. He's a goober, trust me. And also Mike Loxley at Maryland, who was a former Saban assistant. I'll be stunned if Mike Loxley gets this job. But I also think that Alabama might have a hard time finding a guy. I don't know, because I just think a lot of these coaches are like, wait a minute, I got to follow that? Now, the thing that is working in Alabama's favor is that not only DeBoer, but Norvell, I think Steve Sarkisian, and there was one other one. They're all represented by Jimmy Sexton, who is the power broker in college football. He's the agent. Reports are he's already in Tuscaloosa. This is moving fast. One of his clients is likely going to get that job. The other's going to get big fat pay raises. And they want to have all this done by the end of next week. So it's moving fast. The question is, what's the deal with Kalen DeBoer at Washington? Because if Sexton is in there negotiating on behalf of Kalen DeBoer, it may just be to get him money at Washington, right? Because he has not yet, they have not yet announced his extension there. And he deserves an extension. They want to keep him. Of course. He just played in the national championship game. But can they? The difference between Oregon and Washington, and I know this has been fun watching Oregon fans freak out and Washington fans thinking Lanning was gone and laughing. And now today, Oregon fans are breathing easy and they're laughing at Washington fan who may lose their coach. It's been a fun back and forth. The difference, though, is that, and again, it comes back to this Phil Knight thing. Oregon has Phil Knight. Washington doesn't. Washington has some athletic department financial issues. And that's not to say they can't find a way to get Kalen DeBoer paid and keep him. But it's not like it is at Oregon, where it sounds like at Oregon, Phil Knight stepped up and took care of Dan Lanning. You don't have that at Washington. And so it's interesting that no extension had been announced with DeBoer. He's even sort of alluded to it in clips we played in previous shows. And, maybe he's a little burnt that he hasn't been paid yet. So now you got Jimmy Sexton, his agent, certainly in Tuscaloosa. His name's going to come up, of course, DeBoer, of course. But is Sexton just trying to get him paid at Washington? Or is DeBoer really interested in Alabama? And is Alabama interested in DeBoer as their number one guy? I don't know.
I feel like DeBoer is also, you said it, he's been very non-committal. And I don't think that that's just because it's UW. I think Dan Lanning is the outlier when it comes to these types of things. You saw it down at Oregon State with Jonathan Smith the whole year. I'm not leaving. This is where I want to be. This is my alma mater. As soon as he leaves, he goes, well, actually, I've been thinking about leaving the whole time, and I wanted to find a spot for myself. I feel like DeBoer is doing the same thing, and I don't fault him for that, because if you can go get more money and you can go to a higher prestige job, why wouldn't you? It takes a special person or a special place to keep someone like that, and I don't know that DeBoer quite has that same feel that Lanning has with Oregon, if that makes sense.
The same commitment, yeah. Well, again, he hasn't been paid. Well, the difference between those two guys, and you may be right that they're wired a little bit differently. I don't know as much about DeBoer. We talk to Lanning every Thursday here, and I'm really impressed with Dan Lanning, and I think Dan Lanning is a man of character. But everything I hear about DeBoer, he is too. The difference is the Ducks stepped up behind the scenes proactively and took care of Dan Lanning. That makes it very easy for Dan Lanning to be like, no, I'm good. Washington, they have not done that. And the reason is they don't have Phil Knight, and they have some financial issues in that athletic department. Believe me, they're trying, but this is bad timing because the guy just got out of the national championship game. He's 104-12 as the head coach in college football, Kalen DeBoer. He is a proven winner. He wins everywhere he goes. He's 12-2 against the top 25. The guy's awesome. So if Alabama wants him, they can probably get him because, like you said, it's just a better gig. It's going to pay more money. But you also have the other side of it where I think a lot of these coaches, they know that following Nick Saban is going to be really, really, really tough. So if all things were equal, and they're probably never going to be equal, but if Washington can just come up and Sexton can get money from Washington to pay DeBoer, I don't know. Maybe he would stay too. I don't know. It also depends on how much Alabama really covets DeBoer. I really think I really think Mike Norvell is a great option for Alabama, and his buyout's only like $4 million.
His buyout it's nothing, but I also think that it's an easy pull away because you can go, look at how poorly they treated you in the national eyes, right? Come and join us. Yes, I know it's a 12-team playoff, but the ACC, it's not going to be viewed that way.
Right. And that's a main reason for him to hightail it out of there.
I also feel like at Alabama, like I know you talked about the Maryland coach, and I know you talked about the Missouri coach, and the Missouri coach this year, he obviously took a big step up, but I don't know if they would be sexy enough for Alabama fans to not revolt. I mean, we thought it was crazy when Texas A&M fans revolted against Stoops, right? They thought they had Stoops. Stoops was on an airplane. He was on a PJ to come down and be announced as the Texas A&M coach. Fans found out, freaked out. I feel like Alabama fans would do the exact same thing. I mean, if you would have went to Alabama last night, and I didn't tell you Nick Saban retired, if you would have seen the visual or the whatever they were doing by his statue, vigil? Thank you. I found it. Vigil.
As if he died, yeah.
You would have thought he died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you're telling me that these crazies wouldn't do the exact same thing if Alabama tried to hire someone that they didn't view as good enough for that job?
Yeah, maybe, but I think Greg Burns is I think their AD, he's not going to listen to that. He's confident. I mean, I think it's a really, really, really bad sign for your program and how your program is run when fans have that much influence. I'll give you two examples. Well, you've already given one. Texas A&M is one. The other is Tennessee. And what those show you, and that was with the whole Greg Schiano thing, what that shows you is they're not well run. The fans should not. I mean, look, fans, you want to... The fans are your lifeblood, but you kind of have to take what they collectively think with a grain of salt. If you think DeBoer or whomever is the guy, you hire him. And I think Greg Byrne has been around long enough and has the respect that he's not going to cower to, fan opinion. But I do think that there will be some criticism. I mean, probably no matter who you hire down there. I mean, and that guy, whoever they hire, is going to have to win right away. You don't get to work through some kinks at Alabama. And then the fans, they are going to chirp, and they're going to chirp loudly. I don't know. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot for all of these guys. But Kalen DeBoer is much different than Dan Lanning because he has not been taken care of yet. And there is, sort of this idea that maybe Washington can't quite take care of him the way Oregon is taking care of Dan Lanning, and that might get him to leave if Alabama wants him. The one thing about DeBoer, no SEC experience. I don't know if that matters. Somebody said on Twitter the furthest south he's coached is Indiana. Whatever. Saban hadn't coached in the SEC until he got to LSU and he won a title. I think Kalen DeBoer would be a hell of a hire for Alabama. A hell of a hire. But I also think Norvell would be too. The other guy that's coming up is Lane Kiffin.
How would you like to be the guy who followed Nick Saban at Alabama and Pete Carroll at USC?
Yeah, right.
Could you make worse decisions than being the guy who followed both those legends?
Right. Especially at USC with sanctions, too.
Come to the SIP.
Sark, I think he's out. I think that's a guy who's got the Dan Lanning vibe of, I'm good. I'm good where I'm at. They just played in the Final Four, and I'm sure they're taking care of him down there. He's doing a good job, so I don't know about Sark. Well, it'll be a very, very interesting next couple of days, and maybe we'll drag into next week. But Jimmy Sexton, remember that name. That's the guy that's going to get this done. One of his guys is probably going to get that gig.
Related to Jimmy or Richie?
I doubt it. If you've seen Jimmy Sexton, he's a big fat hot dog.
It was a joke.
Well, nobody can probably pick Jimmy Sexton out of a lineup. He's a very powerful guy, but look at pictures of him. He is a roly-poly. But he's a roly-poly worth a lot of money and very influential. We'll have more on this with Dave Bartu of The Matrix. What does he think Alabama will do? That will be at 5:15. In about 1 hour, Bartu's jumping on, and we're going to have to call him Rona Dave because he's got the Rona calling in from his house. But he's going to power through it for us. So that'll be at 5:15. Belichick out in New England. We'll get back to that next on The Fan.
Yeah.
out. Petey's out. Still got to see what happens with Jim Harbaugh. You got Dan Lanning, Kalen DeBoer, Oregon, Washington. I mean, come on, man. And then the playoffs this weekend. So good.
And there's hockey on right now.
Yeah, I was just changing the channel.
Away from hockey? You don't want to watch hot Islanders Maple Leafs?
You know, the one thing I wish I knew, well, I'm very skilled and knowledgeable hockey man. You know that.
I do. It's legendary.
Yeah, people talk about it a lot.
When Tampa was going to win and the Lightning.
Thanks, America. But I wish I could bet it better. You know, I don't bet it at all, but I wish I just kind of, I don't know, that would get me into it maybe, is what I'm saying.
I have a guy I follow, and I just bet overs.
Well, I don't follow guys. I like to, if I'm going to lose money, it's going to be my own opinions. That's how I view it. I never tail anyone.
Really?
No one knows anything.
Every once in a while, I'll tail someone. I just think the guy's funny, so it gets me to bet with him.
Well, I was going to try to turn the channel. It's Leafs Islanders, but I can't figure out how to do it, so I'm just going to leave that on. Forget it.
Catch the fever. Actually, there's some stories going on right now in hockey that are pretty crazy.
Who cares? I mean, seriously.
Death threats were made.
Well, I'll let you and Sook talk that out on the Big Hockey Show. By the way, if you're looking for Big Sook, he's back tomorrow. That's him right there, though. So Belichick's out in New England. Pretty good coach. Six titles. Probably could have been, if you think about it, you think about those Super Bowls, you probably don't remember these. You were too young. But a few plays go different. They win 8.
No, I remember him for the most part. I mean, if David Tyree doesn't make that, if their defensive tackle just holds on to Eli, he doesn't even get to throw it to Tyree.
That's one.
But I mean, it could also go the other way.
The Seattle one, yeah.
No tuck rule. He doesn't even make it, right? There's no Tom Brady at all.
I'm still bitter about that. I had money on the Raiders.
Did you really?
I did. I was so sure the Raiders were going to win that.
Well, it's also not like Adam Vinatieri. In a lot of our minds, we remember him as this great clutch kicker. I mean, going into that last year, the first year where
the Rams
they
year?
Started the dynasty, he struggled that year.
Did he?
You forget, yeah.
I remember the first one that they won, and they beat the Rams, whatever year that was, early 2000s.
2001?
Yeah, and I remember betting on that game, and I think I took New England, but I just imagine a Super Bowl today with a 14-point spread, because that's what that was. The Rams, the Belichick thing and the Brady thing, it was cool that New England was in the championship, but people were like, what? The Rams are the Kings. They're going to destroy them. The spread was 14, and the Patriots won. They shut down Marshall Faulk, took him out of the game plan, and dismantled him. So that's when it's like, oh, okay, they're here to stay. And then, just Belichick, to have the balls to bench Drew Bledsoe for that goober of a 6th-round pick, I mean, come on, man. Hell of a move.
Well, I mean, it takes some guts. He's also known for moving on from people before you were supposed to, or before common thought was, hey, yeah, that guy's washed up. That's kind of the first instance of him doing it.
I wonder if, so Sook was saying yesterday, he was saying, nobody's going to give Pete Carroll another chance. And I'm not so sure about that. He was adamant about it. I don't know. 71, 72, whatever. Same age as Belichick, but it sounds like Belichick's going to get another chance because he wants to keep coaching, and he's the GOAT. I think it will be interesting to see Belichick at a job, if he goes to another job, where he is not the GM. And I don't know, maybe if he goes to Atlanta, they have to. The only way he'll go there is if he is what he's used to in New England, and he's in control of everything. But if Belichick were just the coach, and you pair him with the GM who he got along with, and they kind of like the John Schneider, Pete Carroll thing,
right? With
a little more emphasis on the GM making the moves. I wonder how he would. I wonder if he would be awesome again.
I worry that his style is played out.
Right. Style meaning.
He is a red ass, and he yells at his players, and he gets in their face, and it's much more of a college-style coach where they have full control than an NFL-style coach where, when you look at Mike Tomlin or Pete Carroll, right? before they were before Pete was moved on from, it's much more of I don't want to say a buddy relationship because there is that separation, but they care about their players' families. They ask them questions that don't only revolve around football. They want them to do well outside of their football life. And I don't know that Belichick has that ability.
Yeah, but I think you're, I mean, he's certainly heavy-handed, but I think that he just has the respect. He's, at this point, his resume speaks for itself. If you want to win,
right,
you listen to him.
Right.
But I think where it gets in trouble is some of their draft picks, were awful. I mean, come on.
Harry.
What?
N'Keal Harry.
Yeah. I mean, they just, I don't know. I just, like I said, good GM, Belichick head coach, Nick Saban, defensive coordinator, let's go.
And they should do the old Wild Hogs. All the Wild Hogs. You ever see that movie?
No.
It's where they took like old ass John Travolta, Tim Allen, William H. Macy, and they made them all be like badass bikers in like a comedy. He should just go hire Saban, and then he hires Pete Carroll. Just Wild Hogs, but NFL.
Well, I'd like to see Belichick in Atlanta. That'd be interesting. And I'd like to see Petey get another shot, but he probably won't. I don't know. Saw a great, somebody suggested this on X. I thought it was great. Nick Saban starting his own TV show next year, and it's like bar rescue. but he just goes to struggling college football programs and visits them for a week and turns them around.
And screams at them.
Like John Taffer, and then builds them up.
Said, get out.
Genius.
Where is this team going?
You know the stat on Saban, every player who played for him, this is over a 17-year period. If you played for him for 4 years, you won at least one title. Every one of them.
That's pretty crazy.
Every one of them. God. So who's better, Belichick or Saban?
I'd probably say Saban. Because of the constant turnover. Not that there wasn't constant turnover in the NFL, but to be able to relate to kids over a 17-year period where you saw the most amount of change in college sports happen. I mean, when Saban first took that job, spread offenses weren't a thing. Air raid wasn't really a thing. Hal Mummy was running it in Kentucky and kind of Mike Leach at Texas Tech, and now everybody throws the ball. I mean, you saw that Saban, he had to completely change his offense from when he started winning titles to how he was winning titles at the end.
Yeah, and he kept losing coordinators. Every year he'd lose his coordinators.
Right, and then
still win.
And then NIL became a thing. Like, kids had no power when he first started Alabama. To the amount of power that kids have now, it's completely different, and he was successful through that entire time.
And then look at Belichick without Brady. Huh?
That's right.
Huh?
Wasn't Zappy time.
Another Saban story that popped up today was he was at Michigan State. I think he was DB's coach. And, it was Bob Stoops that was telling this story. By the way, Bob Stoops, low-key great. We had him on once. He was a lot of fun. Good dude, good storyteller. He said that Saban was the DB's coach at Michigan State, and he ran into Stoops' uncle, who was a coach. All the Stoops' coach, apparently. Mm-hmm. If your name is Stoops, you're a coach. Mm-hmm. And they went out to lunch, and they got to talking football and X's and O's. Mm-hmm. And the place that they were eating lunch at was robbed at gunpoint. And the cops came in to interview everyone who was there. And Stoops' uncle and Nick Saban had no idea that the place had been robbed at gunpoint. They were too deep in X's and O's football talk in the booth with their Diet Cokes.
Real football guys.
See,
that sounds like a Jim Harbaugh story more than a Nick Saban story.
I think they're all kind of like that, aren't they? Well, hey, that Saban-Belichick, there's a Saban-Belichick documentary.
HBO. It's greatness.
Really good. Where those two just sit and talk football. And it's high level. Good stuff.
They're all from the same coaching tree.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they coached together, right? Weren't they at the Browns?
They were in the Browns together. And then also, I want to say Saban at one point replaced Pete Carroll when Pete Carroll was early in his career.
At Ohio State.
Right. He was like a DB. He left to go be a defensive coordinator. It is funny how like the general population is learning that if you coach football, you know almost every other football coach.
Yeah.
It's a small group.
Yeah,
it's not as big as you'd think.
You've worked with pretty much everyone.
You've worked with them, or you've worked with a former colleague, or some. They're all connected.
Yeah. Here's a fun question: can you name the 8 NFL coaches, and there are only 8 who were hired before COVID?
That were hired before COVID?
Yeah, now with Belichick out now, Tomlin's the longest tenured.
Obviously, it would be Tomlin.
Yeah.
Let's see, as you go through, so you'd have McVay would be there.
Yep.
Shanahan should be there as well.
Yep.
Then let's see, go through the north, LaFleur.
Yep.
So what am I at, 4?
That's 4. You got 4 more, bro.
Let's see, definitely not in Chicago, not O'Connell, not Dan Campbell. Going through the South, there should be no one in the South.
Well, you're Andy Reid. I'll give you an easy one.
Right, Andy Reid.
John Harbaugh.
There's and then
6.
McCarthy.
No.
Was he hired during COVID?
Yeah, he wasn't hired before 2020.
Wow. Okay, so then
there's only 2.
Shoot, AFC.
Yep.
Zach Taylor.
Yeah, he's one of them.
There you go.
He was the latest up closest to COVID, and the other one is in the East.
In the East.
Yeah. You should get that.
The Buffalo guy,
Sean McDermott.
There you go.
Look at you. I had to help you along there. I don't think the listeners wanted to hear you go through.
No, because I was going to go through every division.
But
I
you
was
did great.
going to do it.
You did great.
I would have got there.
So
I have my moments.
25% of the NFL needs a coach now. 25%. This is true every year, but 8 teams need a coach, and only 8 coaches were hired before COVID. Like, I mean, dude, that league is bananas.
Not for long.
Guys don't even get a year now.
Yeah. Frank Reich got 10 games?
Out. 10 games and out. All right, more on all this later. Dave Bartu's coming on, 5:15. Talk about what Alabama may do. Lanning staying at Oregon. But up next, we've got in the news, snow and ice is on the way. Here is Will with SportsCenter. 2024. It's time for In the News. I'm your noted newsman. Hello. Thank you. Thank you so much, America. Today is National Hot Toddy Day. I love a good hot toddy. Can't go wrong there, especially if you're feeling a little under the weather. You know, my mom used to give me Jack Daniels when I was a kid.
Explains a lot.
Doesn't it, though? I was thinking about that today.
I'm actually anti-hot toddy.
Are you? Why?
I'm not a big hot drink guy.
Well, I'm not either. But I'll tell you, when you got a little bit of cold, it's perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm weird. I need my drinks cold.
A hot toddy is a whiskey, lemon, honey, hot water.
That's all. I'm also not a honey guy.
It's delicious. But yeah, my mom used to give me everything. Oh, this medicine sucks. I don't remember why she would give it to me. Maybe just to make me fall asleep.
In your sippy cup?
No, it was just like a spoonful. Like, yeah, this is gross. Bleh. I didn't know any different. It was Jack Daniels. And you're right, it does explain a lot. I don't know why I've never asked her why she gave that to us.
There's a lot of parenting practices back in the day that are a little different. I feel like that was more normal back then, though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it worked or not. Maybe she was doing the whole placebo thing. It is also Secret Pal Day. Do you have a Secret Pal, Sweet Will?
No sneaky links for me, bud.
Winter storm watch today. Or, wait, what is today? Thursday? Why do I think today's Friday?
I think you're hoping that the winter storm comes early so it becomes a Friday.
Hey, I got to tell you that, the winter storm watch, I will say this. If it's going to happen, because every year we get one of these, right? Isn't this weekend a good time?
It's the perfect time because of the extra day.
Yeah, so Monday's a company holiday. We're not in here Monday. A lot of people don't work. MLK Day. But you also have, I think people are just coming off the holidays, right? Like, I think these last weekend and this weekend are 2 weekends where people are just chilling a little bit. And so if you're just chilling, then you have NFL playoffs littered all over your TV, all 3 days. Well, Saturday and Sunday, and then one game on Monday. And, if I don't have to go outside, so be it. It's not like I'm missing anything. It's, it could be some snow. It could be some ice. The worst part is it's delaying the Rose City Rollers season opener, Will.
Who are the Rose City Rollers?
Can't have that.
Is that like roller derby?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
They're badass, too. We once had them at our golf tournament.
Ugh.
Man, those women, they will hurt you.
You're not going to hear boo from me about roller derby women or wrestling women.
No.
I'm not talking WWE.
Dude, they are a different breed.
Yep. You will only hear good and nice things coming from me.
A lot of tats. And they can drink.
Yeah, if you're into that stuff.
So many parts of the Portland metro area got a first quick taste of snow Tuesday night. A bigger round of winter weather is coming this weekend. Winter storm watch, Portland, Vancouver starts Friday at noon, lasts through late Saturday night. Now they're also saying that there could be some. Well, this is my own personal sources. I'll toss this in here. I was talking to my weatherman neighbor today, and he was saying that we could have some power outages. It's going to be windy. The direction of the wind could cause some power outages. So
there was a power outage here on Monday.
Was there?
Yeah, were you here for that?
No. Did we go off the air?
No. All the lights were off in the building, but in the box. The box was fine.
Do you mean the studio?
Yeah, it's in a box.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually is a box. It's like a container.
That's why I called it the box. Yeah, I still think I'm going to have to make my way in here on Saturday.
Are you? Well, it might be, I don't know.
I'm already
Might be a little dicey.
I'm getting chirped about the Klondike Will Ortner status if I don't make it in on Saturday.
Really? By who?
Well, by Swaggin, by the head suit himself.
The head suit, Jeff Austin?
The head suit, yeah. He was already like, we're going to have to take your name away. Like, all right, fine. I'll get in here.
Well, it may not be that bad, But it's supposed to be super cold even through Monday and Tuesday. And then maybe some rain. And, late next week we'll be back to normal crappy weather as opposed to non-normal crappy weather.
I feel like with the ice, just give yourself extra time and you'll probably be okay.
Certainly with the snow. The ice, yeah. If you don't have to go out, don't. As expected, we have our first door plug lawsuit. This was predictable. But the Alaska Airlines flight that lost its door plug, Flight 1282, the big incident we've been talking about ad nauseum here.
Mm-hmm.
There's an attorney in Seattle representing a college student who was on that flight, and they are filing suit.
Emotional distress?
Yeah, the guy's name is Mark Lindquist. That's the attorney. He said Alaska Airlines has potential liability because someone in their chain of command decided it was not safe to fly over the ocean, but somehow was safe to fly over land. Boy, he's right about that. And then he says, my client was relatively close to where the door plug blew out. The closer a passenger is to that blowout, the more traumatic the experience is going to be for them. He is representing a college student who was on the flight. The student wouldn't go on camera, but Lindquist said the aftermath of Friday's incident will have long-term effects. He is in counseling, as I expect many of the passengers should be or will be at some point.
Define relatively close. Because I feel like on a plane,
yeah,
especially where the door, I didn't know it was a door plug, but where the door plug is,
yeah,
that's dead center of the plane.
Is it? I don't know.
Right?
I think it's more toward the back.
No, well, I don't know where this one was, but I feel like most exit rows are around like what, 13 or 14 of your.
Well, it's not an exit row. It's not an exit row. It's a door plug, meaning so they have them in case they move seats and add seats, so they can make it an exit row if they have to. But it's not. It's a plug. It's not a door. It's just a door. It's like a, but it can be a door if they want it to be.
Oh, see, I've misunderstood that this entire week then, because I thought it was the door.
You don't listen to our radio broadcast then, because we've been explaining that all week. Well,
I apologize. I'll have to make sure that I go back on the Service Patriots podcast.
Yeah,
I'll go listen to all of them.
Yeah, exactly. We know our aviation here, but that's what it is anyway. I'll probably keep my mouth shut on this, but
I am.
I tend to be more of a, you're fine type of guy. Maybe that makes me a Neanderthal, but really,
I would tend to agree with you, but you know what? If the way lawsuits are getting thrown out nowadays, which I may be filing one against your co-host,
you should.
Yeah, well, he's
litigious.
I've learned that libel is in writing, but he's been, there's a lot of defamation that he's been out here spewing.
I love it. Sue his ass. I don't care. Just don't drag me into it.
Well, don't claim that I poison people.
I don't have time to testify. Although I'd probably testify in your favor. Just know that.
We could team up against him.
No, I would never team up. I just think lawsuit, look, I get there's an opportunity to sue here. That guy is dead right when he says, look, let's not fly over water, but it's fine over. Yeah, dude, that's a bad argument for Alaska right there.
Right.
At the same time, short of the kid that got his shirt ripped off and almost died, even him, it's like, God, nobody was harmed. You got lucky. Should you sue?
Should you?
It's probably easy for me to say if I were on the flight and I had the opportunity to join a lawsuit and get, 100 G's or something. I don't know. I'd be like, all right, fine.
And you're going to win.
But do you have to pretend you're in counseling and or is he really? I mean,
yes, that's how you get more money. But he might have been in counseling beforehand.
Is he really? Yeah,
everyone's in counseling now.
We're kind of soft these days. I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. I'd just be happy to be alive. New lease on life after that incident.
Might change your whole view.
It might. Very well might. The kid who was the closest to it was taking a selfie 5 minutes later. How traumatizing is it?
Well, you got to get the selfie. That's how everyone knows that, one, you're okay and get all the likes. This is a whole other thing, but I saw, so you know how there was a shooting out in Prague.
Prague.
Yeah.
Out
like
in
a month
Prague.
Ago.
Okay.
Yeah, Czech Republic, I believe.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I went to high school with a person who was in the Czech Republic.
Okay.
They're in a completely different town.
Yeah, but
in a completely different part.
You text him, didn't you?
No, they posted on Facebook to make sure everyone knew that they were okay.
Oh, okay.
It was like, come on.
Come on, man. You're not even...
You're nowhere near. That'd be like, there's a shooting in New York, and I was like, don't worry, guys. I'm safe.
I'm good. I'm an American, but I'm 3,000 miles away.
I'm safe. Don't worry.
Or even in Portland, the riots and stuff. Right. Guys, I'm not down there. I'm actually in Gresham. Yeah, people are weird.
So.
Oh, well. Hey, look, Alaska, I don't know. They should be held accountable for that, no question. All right. Up next, we have a new person running for mayor, and we may lose another sports team. It's 4:51 on The Fan.
The Fan is on in your home and where you work.
About the lawsuit thing and the door plug thing. A couple of texts. Someone said, almost sucked out of a plane, walk it off. Yeah, you weren't. You were not sucked out of a plane. You get sucked out of a plane, I'd probably sue. You weren't. Another one says, yeah, let the corporate morons get away with dangerous incompetence. Now that I agree with. We should not. That's why I said someone should be held accountable. I think what it is, though, is this whole charade where you have to pretend you're so traumatized. Look, if there's a gravy train of money, if I was on that flight and there's a gravy train of money, which there probably should be, what Alaska should do is just offer to pay everyone and say, hey, and in turn, sign this, don't sue. Here's a bunch of money. It would probably save everybody time and headache in the long run, right? Okay, so it's the charade of saying, oh, that was so was it really traumatizing? It could be, and in which case, sue. But don't fake it just because you see an opportunity to get some money. Now, if I'm on that plane and there is a gravy train of money coming, I'm taking it. But you know what I'm doing if they interview me? I'm saying, hey, I'll take it. I'm not traumatized or anything. I just, or maybe I would be. Maybe I would be a mess. I don't know. But I just feel like we see a window and we turn it into something that is not, just to get money. And I'm not saying that isn't sue-worthy, but let's
But that's the thing. You have to say that it was way worse.
Right.
And then they'll say it was not that bad. And then you meet in the middle. It's like dating.
Yeah, rub some dirt on it.
Well, you have to go out there and, when you're on a date, like, oh, my job's really cool. I work in sports radio and I'm on TV. And then you find out the truth of like, you fill in and you're only on TV for an hour if you're filling in on one specific show. Right. But you lead off with, I'm on TV and sports radio.
Yeah.
Then the truth comes out.
Lawyer's gonna lawyer. I get it.
They're gonna win a lot of money.
And I think so. That's right. And they should. But I just think let's not fake that it's hopefully it's not just gonna be the one person.
No, there's gonna be class action lawsuits.
Yeah,
they're all gonna
them.
win money.
Give all of them money. Every damn one of them. Call it a day. But let's not. I've been reading the quotes from the people who I've seen interviews from the people who were on there. They're fine.
They wore their seatbelts. I would have been
That's
sucked
right.
out. I don't wear a seatbelt on an airplane.
What? You should.
Well, no, like once you get up above.
Okay.
It's also not on tight.
Well,
ever.
if they turn the fasten seatbelt sign off, that's one thing. Have you ever been? You will buckle in and stay buckled in if you've ever had a flight with severe turbulence where you hit your head on the. Have you ever had that where you bump so hard that you hit your head up above?
Rob, I hit my head on airplanes when I get into the plane.
Yeah, because you're so tall.
Yeah.
But you haven't had like a scary turbulent situation.
Well, it's all. I'm not a big.
Those will make it.
I'm not a roller coaster turbulence guy though. Like
what
going
does that
in,
mean?
Like, I don't like roller coasters, so turbulence is all bad to me. Like, when I fly into Palm Springs, I hate that. That's terrifying. I still don't buckle in.
Why? Because it's so windy, you're saying?
Yeah, you never flown into Palm Springs?
I have many times, but it's not as bad as, Denver.
I've flown into Denver. Denver wasn't bad. San Diego's weird because you go over the skyscraper and then drop right down.
Somebody said I should go on the stand representing Boeing. Yeah, put me up there.
You were one of the ones in the exit row or whatever?
No, I'd represent Boeing. Like, are you really traumatized? Look, well, how about a little... This is what Suk would say. How about a little whimsy on a flight? Made it interesting.
I don't think that's what he'd say. I think he'd start calling everyone a candy ass.
Yeah, he probably would, huh?
He'd start insulting their manhood.
Totally. Well, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah, buckling in. I tell you, I buckle in. And this is another if you don't buckle in, strap up and strap in after this story, I don't know what you're doing, man.
Well, I will be. I'm going to San Diego in a couple months. I'll be strapped.
Yeah, strapped in.
I'd like to not die.
And now, even with the fasten seatbelt light off, I think now I'm just going to stay buckled up, bro, with this door plug thing.
Well,
imagine that kid, he's dead if he does not have a seatbelt on. It's crazy.
Right.
Crazy.
And now he's suing and he's going to get a bunch of money.
No, that's a different kid.
Oh, different kid.
Yeah.
But that kid will sue.
Yeah.
And he'll get the most money.
All right, we have time for no more stories. We have belabored the point. That's your In the News, January 11, 2024. The Hot 5 at 5 is next. It's a very busy day. Very busy. Dan Lanning is staying at Oregon, and Bill Belichick is out in New England, although I just gave you two of them right there. See what the other three are next. And Dave Bartoo coming up 5:15 on The Fan. Hope you're having a nice little Thursday. It's a very busy sports day. We're going to talk to Dave Bartu coming up next. College Football Matrix. Have you ever heard anyone live on the radio with COVID? Rona Dave from his house.
Will he be drinking a Rona?
Hillsboro. Or where does he live?
Dude, don't look at me.
I think it was Hillsboro. Anyway, what? A Rona? Like Corona? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, what if he had one?
Is that what they call it? They call it the Rona?
No, you never just been like one of your boys like, hey, can you go grab me a Rona?
No, I haven't.
First
I would
you
also
don't slap bags. Now you don't call them Ronas.
Well, I'm an old man, but let me tell you this. Corona sucks.
You're wrong.
Not a good beer.
Incorrect, sir. Do you like the stout? Are you like a more bitter guy?
Greatly. No. I don't really like beer, but I just don't, I drink a Negro Modelo.
Yeah, Modelo's good. It's the same thing.
Over a Corona. No, two different beers.
Same beer.
Bro.
It's the same style.
You don't know.
Throw in a Pacifico as well.
You got a lot to learn, Will.
I'm figuring it out.
I like saying that to you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, coming up in the club, more hot airplane talk. We've got Mile High Club news. But right now, let's get to the Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com. Number five.
Got a little something for everyone here today. Let's start with baseball. Former Mariner Teoscar Hernandez has signed with the Dodgers. 1 year, $23 million. Meanwhile, the Cubs have signed Japanese lefty Shota Imanaga. He'll be a middle-of-the-rotation starter. He's 30. The Mariners avoid arbitration with Logan Gilbert. Boy, they're going to get him for 1 year, $4 million. That's a juicy deal. And also outfielder Sam Haggerty. You ladies, he is back. 1 year, $900K. Pitchers and catchers, they report February 13th. Can't wait. I may go to spring training this year.
Does that get moved up every year? Feels like it's earlier and earlier.
It's usually mid-Feb.
Number 4.
NFL has designated the home teams for the 4 Europe games next season. They are the Bears, Vikings, Jaguars, and Panthers. I don't know why I did it that way, but Carolina is the team playing in Munich. NBA game today in Paris. Cleveland disposed of Brooklyn 111-102 in front of nearly 16,000 gay Parisians. The Blazers visit the upstart Thunder tonight in not-so-beautiful Oklahoma City. The Thunder are 25-11. You know, the Blazers only lost by 45 in the last meeting, so...
room for improvement?
Room for improvement, yeah. Portland remains without DeAndre Ayton. Jabari Walker questionable. Grizzlies lose Ja Morant for the season. Now Marcus Smart goes down for a finger injury. He'll be out at least 6 weeks, so that's a mess.
Were those both on their shooting hands?
I don't know. No idea. Well, Ja was a shoulder. But the NBA also announced today that its draft will now be a 2-night event, giving the second round its own stage so we don't watch. It's great. What else do I have for you guys? Quarterback Quinn Ewers has announced he is returning to Texas for another season. That was to be expected. Meanwhile, upon the news of Nick Saban's retirement, 5-star receiver Ryan Williams has decommitted from Alabama. He is from that state. It says he's back to considering Texas, Auburn, and he's going to visit Texas A&M this weekend. Other news, Michigan loses its leading tackler. Linebacker Junior Colson is headed to the draft. He projects top 50. And projected top 5, Ohio State receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. has made it official, and he will hit the draft. So there's your hot college football news. Quinn Ewers is like the favorite to win the Heisman next year. And who knows, maybe he takes a leap forward, but dude, I don't know about that guy.
I thought it was Dylan Gabriel. There was a point where he was up there really high, too.
No, I think I'd take Gabriel. I think Gabriel, we went through the odds. It was like plus 1,100 for Gabriel, and Ewers was like plus 650.
That's way more juicy than Ewers. Ewers,
100%.
Yeah,
he needs more time. Yeah, I hear you. Dan Lanning is staying at Oregon. The coach posted a short video to social media this morning with the words, "I'm not leaving," among other things. Reports that he was in Tuscaloosa last night were 100% false. We'll play the audio later, but he's told Pat McAfee that he was on his couch with his kid watching a Bourne movie. As for Alabama, reports are they want a guy by the end of next week. 3 dudes we know are serious candidates, this according to Football Scoop. Offensive coordinator Tommy Rees, Washington's Kalen DeBoer, and Florida State's Mike Norvell. 2 other guys who are thought to have found traction, Missouri's Eli Drinkwitz and Maryland's Mike Loxley. Loxley used to be an assistant under Sabes.
Number 1.
So we'll see. Kalen DeBoer, I know this. He's supposed to go on KJR tomorrow morning. So
8 a.m.
Yeah, I think everybody wants to hear from him, and he's scheduled to be on their morning show tomorrow. And number 1 today, not to be outdone by Pete Carroll, who was outdone by Nick Saban, but he's now outdone by Bill Belichick because he and the Patriots have agreed to part ways after 24 years. 6 Super Bowls, 17 division titles, most all-time playoff wins for Belichick. 3 names top the list to replace him. They're talking about Mike Vrabel, Gerard Mayo, or Brian Flores. Meanwhile, the scuttlebutt on Belichick is that Atlanta could be a landing spot for him if he is to coach again because Arthur Blank likes old guys. There you go. That's your Hot 5 at 5. It's brought to you by Victor Rico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Order now at victorricos.com. So coming up, we'll play a little bit of Dan Lanning and what he said on Pat McAfee's show. Talk a little bit more about that. And then in our next segment, Dave Bartu is going to join us of The Matrix. That's right. He lives in Forest Grove, not Hillsborough. He lives in Forest Grove.
I apologize for my incorrect
Well, I think I said Hillsborough.
dialogue.
But, Rona Dave, with the Rona, nothing stops Dave Bartu from coming on this show. He said, I have the Rona, but I'm good to go. Let's do it. We'll ask him how surprised he is, if at all, that Dan Lanning is staying and what he thinks Alabama should do and how good is that job right now? A lot of people think it's the best in the country. I beg to differ. I wouldn't want to follow Saban. So we'll get to all of that coming up next with Dave Bartu of The Matrix on The Fan. Saban has stepped down. Dan Lanning, the most mentioned name that Alabama wanted, he is staying at Oregon. Now, is it maybe Kalen DeBoer going to Bama? Let's bring in Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix. He is live on the radio with the Rona. How you feeling?
Right, under quarantine in my office right now. The only way it affects me is I get 2 days of really bad fever. So
yeah.
I'm in the middle of the shimmies and the shakes right now. And
that's too bad. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, but it is what it is. So
all right. Well, I hope you recover quickly. We'll call you Rona Dave here for this segment.
Right.
You were laughing. I was saying, is Kalen DeBoer the guy at Alabama? You're a Kalen DeBoer guy. You nailed him way before anyone else knew how good he was. Do you think he'll get the Alabama job?
No, I don't. Well, in fact, okay. So let's start with my first rule of coaching search. Whatever's on the interwebs, 99% of it is crap, and nobody knows what they're talking about. Now it's cool because Saban is so big. You got guys even like Cowherd bringing up guys who replace him just for the clicks. They got no idea what's going on, you know? And it's funny because, I mean, as you know, I've been involved with a lot of head coaching searches, a lot of ADs. I would say 9 times out of 10, even though I'm like first level contact with the AD, I don't even know who it is until he walks up on the podium. That's how tight it is, right? So now I think you and I would both agree that Saban, Alabama, Greg Byrne, the AD, he knew about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
He had his guy weeks ago. All this speculation is crap, absolute crap. You know that this is the guy they want, and that's the guy they want. It's just fans being crazy because they got nothing else to talk about, and they hate being in the dark. And the 1% that's out there that's real is intentionally leaked. So, but I don't think it's going to be DeBoer. As a head coach, I think he's awesome. Top 5 in the country. I don't know if he fits down in Alabama, recruiting in the Southeast. I mean, he's a South Dakota Plains guy. I think he's really happy at Washington. And I think part of this, too, is no matter what you look at, you got to understand with this job. Yeah, it seems sexy. This is the biggest pair of shoes to fill in college football in my lifetime.
Yeah, probably. Well, I mean, history. I mean, think about, like, I guess whoever followed Bear Bryant, but I mean.
Yeah, right? I mean, those guys all got fired, you know, and you know, Alabama went through some dark ages themselves. I mean, before Nick, I mean, this was a program that was recruiting, you know, 17, 24, 32. I mean, they were good, but they were a rounding error compared to where they are right now. And, you know, with free agency and players being able to leave ad nauseum, I think the depth, I don't think we're going to ever have an elite team again. You know, we'll have national champs, but these teams will not be able to beat teams before this time. I don't think ever. And
yeah, because the big boys could just stack up, and now they can't. So NIL is actually helping that, right? Like spreading the talent out.
I think so. I think that's one of the byproducts of this is that, well, look at our national championship game this year. This is the biggest outlier of my lifetime. I mean, 2 non-top 10 recruiters in the same national championship game. I mean, we've had 48 national title games, or 24 this century. 48 teams, and only 7 of them were not top 10 recruiters. And we had 2 this year.
Yeah.
Right? So I think NIL, well, it's not NIL, it's free agency. NIL is a totally different subject altogether. Let's just call it what it is. NIL is me paying you to influence products that I sell.
Right.
Right. Free agency is boosters paying players. This is free agency.
Transfer.
Okay.
Yeah,
this is free agency. So the world of free agency, I think balances the playing field. I think it's going to be more exciting because I think the talent's going to be more dispersed. I think the actual talent itself might drop because they're not getting consistent coaching. I think in a few years, little off subject, 4, 5, 6 years, the NFL, you're going to hear people complaining about how kids coming out of college just aren't as prepared as they used to be because they're bouncing around. They have no consistency.
Yeah.
But I think that lack of consistency opens it up for the national championship and the playoffs with 12 teams, I think it opens it up for a lot of craziness to happen, where in years past, there is just no way, unless you're a top 10 recruiter, you're getting anywhere near a national title.
Well, that bodes well for, obviously we saw it with Washington and Michigan, but it bodes well for Oregon too moving forward. So if you think Greg Byrne has his guy and has had his guy for weeks, what is happening right now? Like, how does you know how this all works? Walk us through how the situation plays out.
I think we're contract. I think we're crossing T's. I think we're dotting I's. I think we're trying to get the marketing in order. We're trying to lose as few kids as possible in the portal. It's and a lot of what's going on is, stuff that's just outside my realm. The admin side of it, I don't know. But I do know that based on all of this, and especially how upfront Nick is about this, I am certain, 100% certain, Greg Byrne knew this was coming long before you and I did, right? So I think it's just a lot of parliamentary procedure back there. Now, who it is, I still don't know, right? I'm down to 3 guys right now.
Who?
Right? I'm down to Jeff Brom at Louisville.
Okay.
I'm down to Mike Norvell at Florida State, and I'm down to James Franklin at Penn State.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Right? And I didn't think it was Dan from the beginning. I didn't think it was Kalen from the beginning, even though both of them have excellent profiles across the 3 main parts of coaching. Based on my experience and my connectivity, I don't think they were really on the radar. So I really think it's down to those 3 guys. Now, I might be wrong, but I've been watching it, just trying to see if I can use my experience to figure it out, and that's where I'm at right now.
I think Norvell might be the guy. I think that might be the guy right there. Because he's the guy. So Florida State, that whole situation with them was a mess, and the ACC. And I just would not blame that guy if he jumped. I feel like, and I also think he's a good coach. I don't know what you think of him, but of those 3, who do you think would be the best guy for them?
Brom.
Really?
I think Brom. I really like Brom. I think he has the highest ceiling of all of them. And don't get me wrong, I like Mike Norvell. Okay. One of the things I like about Mike is, he's a top 5 offensive coordinator in college football. I mean, he'll be the best play caller that Bama had since Sarkisian. All right. So I think that's there. And I agree with you from the standpoint, if Alabama offers it to Mike, he's gone. I mean, he won't even look twice because they're not in a Power 2 conference, right? I mean, there's no way Florida State has Alabama money. And they just got hit with some sanctions for recruiting. So I don't disagree if he's offered it. Brom, he's at his alma mater. So I don't know if he leaves for the pressure you're going to get, even if it was offered. And I think Franklin, if it was offered to him, he would go too, because I think he's kind of maxed out his ceiling at Penn State.
This is Dave Bartu of The Matrix. Rona Dave, live with COVID. Now, if you strip away the coaches and just look at what a job can offer, what are the best jobs in college football?
Well, if you ask the coach, it's the ones that pay the most, right? I mean, isn't that the best radio job, the one that pays the most if you're a host? I mean, come on.
Well, who pays but I feel like when you get to the upper echelon with all these big boy schools, they can all scrounge up a lot of dough, right? So
right. Well, Vanderbilt and Indiana can still outpay anybody in the ACC and the Big 12, right?
Yeah.
So to me, the best jobs are the ones that are in one of those 2 conferences. Right, has top 15 talent, has the ability to recruit in the top 15. I think even though talent's leveled out, you still have to have a certain level you can get to. So in the Big 10, you're looking at Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, Washington. I think those are your Big 5 in terms of desirability and ability to recruit. And then you go in the SEC, you got Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, A&M, LSU.
What about Texas?
Florida and Texas, right? And Oklahoma. I keep forgetting that 13 of the top 20 recruiters in the country are in those 2 conferences. So, and USC, I forgot about USC in there too. So, I think it has to do with money and resources and the ability to get the kids there that wins you football games because, well, recruiting still wins football games.
Well, it's pretty crazy that, to think that an Oregon coach has, I don't know if he turned down Alabama, but look, I mean, there would be a lot of reasons for Alabama to want Dan Lanning. Mm-hmm. And it's just wild. I mean, I know you're a Duck, but it's how far the Oregon program has come that you've got a guy who has everything you just talked about at Oregon. I think that's I'm guessing a lot of Duck fans listening right now have to pinch themselves if that's the case. And the Alabama job came open and the guy's like, nah, I'm good. I mean, that's pretty amazing, Dave.
Right. It's pretty badass, really. It's more than pinch yourself. I mean, it's like this is a national power in Eugene, period. It is. It's been a top 10 recruiter now for the last 2 years. This is a national championship contender. It was one of only 4 teams in the country that was top 10 in offense and defense this year in my numbers. One of only 4. Those teams win national titles. The only one that made the playoffs was Michigan. Guess who won it, right? I mean, so Oregon had everything this year. That was a national championship level team if they could have got by Washington in Vegas. So going forward, absolutely. He's got all the resources, not just from a monetary standpoint, the facilities, the coaching, all of it is there in Eugene without the pressure. I mean, Alabama, that's going to be a horrible job. Whoever gets it, the pressure cooker that it's going to be, I don't know if it's worth the money. Right? Even if you're making 10, 12 million a year versus 8, 9 million in Eugene, the daily, hourly, minute by minute pressure in Tuscaloosa would be unbelievable
and
compared to Eugene.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Oregon has not maybe on par with what Alabama has, but they have enough to do what they do at Alabama, and yet you don't have the pressure. Why would you want to go there? But I guess, like you say, money talks. Okay, so do you think, like, I think one of the residual sort of benefits of what happened with Lanning, I know Duck fans were a little worried yesterday, and today they're breathing easy, is I think that now that the Alabama job opened and he's like, I'm good, I think this means Lanning is at Oregon for quite some time, as long as things keep going well, don't you?
Right. Well, he has a chance to build a legacy. Because there's, I mean, how many legacy coaches are at Oregon that have won at an extreme level, right? I mean, to me, Belotti's still the best head coach they ever had because of everything he did.
Yeah.
He took over from Rich and took him to the next level. And then he set it up for Chip because we know Chip can't staff worth a damn, right? Chip can't recruit. Chip can't staff. So Belotti, everything that Chip did, I know as a name he's legendary, but it was only 4 years. Right. And he didn't stay for very long. And so while he did a good job, to me, he's not a legendary Oregon coach. To me, that's Belotti and that's Rich Brooks. But then who else is there? There's really nobody else there. In Alabama, no matter how good Lanning does, he's probably still going to be the third best head coach of all time in Alabama, no matter how good he is. Right. Here, he has an opportunity to, given his age, his dedication, the culture he's built. I mean, he's trying to build a culture of commitment. Guess what he's doing? He's showing people that he's doing that himself. So I think this helps recruiting as well. But, from my standpoint, I think it's an opportunity for him. If he wants to become a legendary head coach, it's at Oregon. It will never be at Alabama for him or anybody else.
Yeah, I think he knows that. And it's what's wild about him is he already feels like kind of a legend in Eugene just because, one, just kind of the swagger. He really fits with Oregon's kind of flash, but he's also bringing some toughness and just this has gone a long way to show Oregon fans that guy is not just talking the talk, he's walking the walk, which I think is a breath of fresh air after the last two coaches. This is Dave Bartu, College Football Matrix. Which school do you think made the best hire, according to Rona Dave? You've got Mike Elko is now at A&M. Not sexy, but seems good. Willie Fritz, I know you really liked Willie Fritz. He's now at Houston.
I'm biased on Willie because that's one of my clients. I helped build that staff, so we can't count that one. Okay.
Oh, okay. I thought you see because you pinpointed Kalen DeBoer before anybody was talking about Kalen DeBoer. It seemed to me that Willie Fritz was kind of that same guy too.
Willie is really good, but Kalen is top 3 in the country, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, we between Kalen and Dan, and unfortunately, with what happened with Oregon State, I mean, Kalen, Dan, and Jonathan were wow. I mean, right here in the backyard.
Yeah.
It was really amazing. A&M, I like what they've done as well. They've hired really good. So, with Elko, a bit of an unknown because he's only been coaching for 3 years. But the staff he has built is a significant, especially on the offensive side, significant improvement over A&M. So I like the direction that they're going with that right now.
What do you think, Jonathan Smith? How about that hire at Michigan State? Is that a good fit?
I was laughing to myself last night. I'm like, if Alabama pays the $20 million buyout and gets Lanning, then they can roll that $20 million and give it to DeBoer and bring him down to Eugene, and then the $12 million buyout Washington got for DeBoer, they can go get Jonathan back to Seattle from Michigan State, and then Michigan State can go hire Mel Tucker again. That would have been that was I was laughing about that one, but. No, as you've noticed, there hasn't really been a lot of turnover, but I think Jonathan to Michigan State, excellent head coach, excellent staff. He took a lot of good staffers with him. The guys he kept, especially the guys that were already there. We had a list of the 5 best guys that were on staff. He kept 2 of them. So I think his staff is really good at Michigan State. But, man, the Big Ten, you look at the coaching from top to bottom. Look, I know Alabama and Georgia, the SEC has a lot of talent, but the best coaching in college football is unquestionably in the Big Ten. It is going to be a joy to watch going forward.
Well, rest up, sir. This weekend, get better. Sorry you have the Rona, and thank you for still coming on.
Yep, anytime, buddy. Thank you.
Love your hot body. It's Dave Bartu. Love talking to Dave. College Football Matrix. All right, we'll play a little bit of what Dan Lanning said on Pat McAfee's show today, coming up next, and a little more hot Bill Belichick talk. He's out in New England. It is 5:33. Here's Will. do not believe what you read on social meds. Bartu just said it.
Or from your news.
Yeah, the K-Val guy. That whole thing. Yeah, Bartu just said it, and he's the one that follows. Well, he's involved in some of these coaching searches and coaching hires, and he says 99% of what's out there is bullshit. Now, I'm not sure if he's right that Alabama already has his man, but he knows how these things work. Already has their man, I mean. He knows how these things work. Maybe they do. And maybe, they're buttoning things up right now. But Pete Thamel just tweeted about 30 minutes ago. He's ESPN. ESPN?
Yes. He's ESPN because all the Michigan honks were going after him because when they had the big game against Ohio State, he wouldn't go out into the crowd for College Game Day.
Oh, okay.
And he does that in all the others.
Yeah, he just said on SportsCenter that Norvell from Florida State and DeBoer from Washington, the expectation is for them to emerge as the focal points of the search. So, I'm sure Jimmy Sexton is there working the DeBoer angle, at least trying to get him more money at Washington. But I don't know if Alabama really wants DeBoer, they can probably get him because I don't know if Washington can step up and match that, depending on how much they're paying him. And I don't know what UW does if DeBoer leaves. I mean, they got to be sweating a little bit at Washington.
Whoever Alabama grabs, we're just going to do this entire thing all over again, minus one name when Harbaugh leaves Michigan, right? We're just going to do this again, Groundhog's Day in 2 weeks.
Yes, I think so. Because I think DeBoer is an interesting guy for Michigan. Yeah, you're right. A lot of the same names.
It's going to be the same except for one very particular name.
What if Nick Saban takes over at Michigan?
I mean, I don't think he would. Wasn't he a Michigan State guy at one point?
Yeah, he was.
I don't know if you can cross those lines.
What about Petey? Throw Petey out there at Michigan.
Pete comes back,
pulls a USC.
Belichick gets mad, and he's like, you know what? I want to win one in college and in the NFL.
Wow. Well, it's fun. But I don't know, Washington, Oregon fan was sweating it yesterday. Washington fan sweating it today. I don't know what Washington would do if DeBoer left. But Lanning was not, point being, last night the talk was on internet that Lanning was in Tuscaloosa. Even the KVAL TV anchor, sports guy in Eugene, said that he was in Tuscaloosa.
Whoopsies.
Lanning was on Pat McAfee today, and here's what he said about that.
It was a distraction last night. My 13-year-old son, Caden, we just started watching the Jason Bourne movie. We were on Jason Bourne, and my phone's blowing up, and it's like, Dad, it says you're in Tuscaloosa right now. It's like, we're watching Jason Bourne. Focus on the movie. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb. So it interrupted what we were in on last night. But we got great players that we're looking to sign. All that became a distraction for sure. You got players on our team reaching out, and they know where I'm at. 10 toes down.
Yeah. Yeah, his phone's blowing up with players, and he's you can't watch the Bourne movie. You got to respond to those guys. No, I'm not going anywhere. And Bartu is right. Lanning's using this in recruiting. He knows that coaching instability is a problem for coaches in recruiting. And when you have the stability that he has, and when you talk so emphatically about staying at a place like he has, you use that, and it's helping them in recruiting because, he had the little line in his video today. He announced, if you didn't see, Dan Lanning announced that he's staying at Oregon via about a minute video that he posted on social media they made. Cool way to do it. And in there is a line where he is quoted as saying, he doesn't say it. They just put it as his quote. He was on his Twitter account. And it said, if you're worried about your coach leaving, come play for us. I thought that was brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Great line.
Because that dude, he's not going anywhere. And Oregon fans got to be doing cartwheels because outside of the Georgia job opening at the wrong time, I don't think he leaves as long as he keeps doing what he's doing. He's going to be here for a while. And that's got to make you feel good after the last, 2 coaches left for dream jobs. It's got to make you feel great.
I also think it lets you realize what tier your job truly is. You're a tier 1 job. There's probably 10 tier 1 jobs out there, and you might now be the most attractive one because you don't have to deal with all the extracurricular stuff from your donors or from your boosters. When you look at all the other big blue bloods, I mean, USC, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Michigan, Ohio State, there are so many cooks in that kitchen that are coming through. Like at Michigan, it took a special coach, Jim Harbaugh, to come in and say, I'm not listening to any of you guys. I'm doing it my way. All those other coaches really don't have that ability to do that. Maybe Kirby, right? Now that Saban's gone. But you have a spot where you get all the money and the NIL and the support that those other schools get without having to answer to 10 different oil donors.
It's not the pressure cooker. It just isn't. They give you leeway. They're happy to have you. It's like they found a fit. Rob Mullins, man, the Willie Taggart hire, that was a whiff. And Mario Cristobal, I mean, the guy won the Rose Bowl, but obviously we all know there were knocks on Mario Cristobal, and then he leaves. Those two coaching hires, and then the Helfrich thing after Chip. Mullins needed this one, and dude, he got it right because Dan Lanning has everything it takes. And when I say fit, it's not just on the field. He's just not one of those guys that's looking to climb the ladder and jump around the country. He understands commitment, and when he says that, he means it, and that's rare. I mean, how refreshing is that in this day and age of college football, where we believe nothing a coach says, and rightly so. But Lanning just put his money where his mouth is and has been, and he's showing you. Like, he showed you that you can trust what he says. And that is, man, with what Oregon's building, with as good as they've been, and they've had they've taken their lumps, losing to Washington and didn't get over the hump this year. But, man, with what he's building in recruiting, they just got the top transfer quarterback, jump into the Big Ten, a fun schedule. Now, this is so fun if you're an Oregon fan right now. So fun. And if Washington keeps DeBoer, fun for them too, because that guy's awesome. So I think the world of Dan Lanning. And I think, like Bartu was saying, I feel like this guy, if he keeps this trajectory, he is going to be an Oregon legend. It's all teed up.
I found his take on Chip Kelly very interesting too, on being an Oregon legend, of only really Mike Bellotti being that legendary figure.
Well,
and if let's go by Bartu's logic, right? Like, let's go by him saying, hey, Bellotti is the only legendary head coach that Lanning would have to appeal to or, reach to pass. Does Lanning making it to a playoff and going deep, or two playoffs, does that make him the most important or the most historical coach at Oregon?
It's a good question. What does he have to do? How does he have to finish this off? Because expectations, they certainly are high. I would say, Chip, I think he's right that Bellotti teed up Chip, and that was sort of a moment in time where, Chip's offense being
revolutionary.
It was new and innovative. Yeah, like it all just worked, and it was fun, and the fans had a blast with it, right? Like, he took it to another level. But Bellotti certainly deserves a lot of credit for teeing that up, and he's the one that found Chip Kelly. And it wasn't long. It was only 4 years. But Chip Kelly almost won a damn national title.
So did Mark Helfrich, though.
Well, I guess that's true. Although the Chip one was closer.
Right.
I mean, that Auburn game was closer. But, yeah, I don't know what it's a good question you ask, because I think as Lanning, if he keeps falling short, like he's new at Oregon, and we really like him, and we like his swagger, and he seems to have it all in the things he says, and he's a very inspirational guy, and a kind of a cool guy. You want to have a beer with him, and he's got that it. But it's too early to start criticizing him for falling short like they did this year. In other words, if this same season, everything's teed up where you have this excellent team with Bo Nix, and you're going toe-to-toe with Washington atop the Big Ten, and you lose to them and you miss out on the playoff, or you lose in the playoff and you bow out. If this happens all, in 5 years, maybe there's more criticism, right? Because I feel like he's trending towards something better, so people are giving him the benefit of the doubt at this point. Didn't quite get over the hump each of the last 2 years, but man, this is really trending. Well, how long does it have to trend before it's like, okay, wait, you need to be playing for a championship, if not win one? That's a good question. I don't know how long that will be. But I think, honestly, to bring this full circle, and then we'll take a break, to your point about being a coach at Oregon, the reality is, at a place like Oregon, unlike a place like Alabama or even Michigan or Georgia or Ohio State or all these other schools, just being at Oregon, there is an element of, we're just happy to have you, and there will always be that. As long as he keeps up what he's doing, in contention every year, you're never going to have the pressure cooker of an Alabama at Oregon. It's never going to happen. But expectations will rise, and it will be interesting to see how, if he lives up to him or if he doesn't, where fans go with him. Because I think it also has a lot to do with who you followed. I think he looks really good because he followed Cristobal, and there was a lot of criticism about Cristobal in game management and X's and O's, and Dan Lanning has that much tighter, much better. So all of those things fans can see, it's definitely an improvement. So they're happy right now. How long will they stay happy? I don't know. It's a good question. All right, we'll take a break. We'll wrap it up after this. It is 5:50 on The Fan. gotta, you gotta right a wrong, fella. You know that you are on our list of picks this year because you made picks one week.
I do, and I know.
0-3.
Well, Grandpa Gary Ortner is a P1, and he was letting me know that you are quoting information that is a month old. Do you know what I did last week?
Well, it doesn't matter.
Oh, it does.
No. Robbing the Bank. You were not on Robbing the Bank last week.
3-0.
I don't care.
I know. Watch my videos, bro.
I know that on the Robbing the Bank segment, you were on it one time. That was your big chance.
I know.
And you went 0-3.
3-0 last week.
So tomorrow, you get a chance to win people over with your hot picks.
Over 50% this year in NFL and college football.
0-3 on our show. It's not good enough.
You know what? You can cherry pick my mistakes if you look at the longevity of my gambling history.
Yeah, nobody likes a Brett Bragger either. A Brett
Booner?
Nobody likes a bet bragger.
I feel like I have to brag to uphold my good name after you've tried to sully it.
Well, I didn't try to sully it. You went 0-3. It's fact.
It's sad that you go and quote these alternative facts against me.
God, you're a douche.
It's sad. Now you're name calling because you know I'm right. It's sad.
Just a douche.
It's sad. These attacks, slanderous.
Big Voice Guy thought it was this is the wild card week, and we're going to wrap the week around all the big NFL playoff action. We have talked almost none of it. We had Hugh on earlier from A&A, but hopefully we'll get into more of that tomorrow. But this has been a wild week, losing Pete Carroll, Bill Belichick, and Nick Saban all in the same week. It's nuts.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. Nuts. So Suk will be back tomorrow. Joey Harrington will be on tomorrow, and we'll get into some wild card talk. And maybe we'll finally win a bet.
It's just so sad what you would do to cut down a great man.
Great? Get out of here.
I'm just following a certain playbook.
You're not great.
It's sad. Exclamation point.
Let's talk Mile High Club. I've got big Mile High Club news.
Ooh.
Coming up next.
Hell no.
You know what that is? How it works?
Yeah. Yeah, it's got to be one of the most overrated things on earth, right? The Mile High Club.
I'm not going to pretend to know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know either.
I'm not going to pretend to know, but it doesn't seem like the most comfortable.
No.
Or like the most hygienic.
Yeah, exactly. Or the hottest. It's kind of gross and stupid.
Yeah, I don't really like being touched on a plane. Like hugged or like people leaning on you. Not that.
We'll get to that next. That'll kick off the club. It is 5:58 on the Fan.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of
Sports Talk Day. Now it's time to D off. Along with Klondike Will Ortner over there. It's me, Rob. What's up?
That's the plan.
Big Sook's out. Be back tomorrow.
No.
Will threatening to sue Big Sook, which I think would be great.
I am willing to sue anybody that attacks me.
What did he say? I mean, he says
you
stuff
were right there. You were right next to him.
But it's like I'm with him every day.
Is he attacking me every day?
He attacks
Do I need to
everyone.
listen to this more?
There is no one he does not attack.
That's true.
Like, why do you feel special? Maybe this is another.
I don't feel special.
We got another moment here.
I feel attacked.
Rub some dirt on it, okay?
Well, you know what? No.
Toughen up.
I am toughening up my wallet by making it bigger.
Millennial.
I'm actually
millennial
Gen Z.
Bitch. Oh, you're Gen Zer?
That's right. I'm leading the charge. 2 generations back.
What year were you born?
97. That is the first year of Gen Z. No, he said that I was poisoning Danny. And I, like Jimmy Kimmel, find it disgraceful that a former NFL player would attack me that way.
What does the NFL thing have to do with it?
I don't know.
Have to do with it.
I wish that he would have played for Green Bay so I could make the same stupid joke. Wore G on his head, so he thought he was a genius.
Man, you're really something.
I'm a special breed, bro. Might sue you for attacking me on my gambling picks.
Yeah, that'd hold up in court.
It would not be
present
the dumbest.
Facts.
I also presented facts. Alternative.
I've got Mile High Club news, but first, I just was looking at TMZ. One habit of mine is to pull up TMZ right before the club, just to see what's going on out there. And the top story makes me smile, and I want to present it to you. Gary Busey whips it out in public.
What?
Yes. So
I shouldn't laugh. That's not funny.
Oh, it's great. Look at the photo, man.
I don't want to look at him whipping it out.
Well, it's blurred, so you don't have to see Gary Busey's hog or anything. But
why?
Dude,
what is he doing?
Well, he's walking. It's broad daylight, dude. He looks as crazy and as housed as ever. And he lives in Malibu, and apparently he's got quite the reputation around there. But he's walking down the street, and he has sweatpants on, which is another awesome
then he
thing.
shouldn't have to whip it out, especially if they're gray.
Well, they are gray, but what do you mean? You still have to, you know.
I think if you wear gray sweatpants in public, you're trying to send a message.
Yeah, it's clear that Gary Busey gives 0 Fs. But the photo is great. Someone from TMZ snapped a photo of him, and he's just standing there like an old man with his hands on his hips and his ween peeing into the bushes, right just some sidewalk in Malibu. You guys got to see the photo. It's great. And he looks like he sees the camera and doesn't care. He's smiling, laughing. Then there's another photo of him with his pants up, but you can kind of see his flabby belly, and he's laughing again. It's just wow. Wow, on the Gary Busey front, guys. Wow.
Was he ever sane?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know what his deal is, but
is there like something going on there that I shouldn't make fun of?
Maybe.
Because I don't know a lot about him, but every time I hear about him or see him, right, he looks insane and he does insane things.
Well, he is insane, but I don't know if that's like we can't call somebody insane anymore, or like is that a bad you know?
Well, like,
I mean, look, it's just he's generally crazy.
Yeah, but then sometimes...
Does it make it worse if it's like, oh, he's got this syndrome, and you can't make fun of that? I don't know what he's got. He's crazy, but awesome, crazy awesome. I would want to party with him.
I don't want to party.
I would want to be in the same room with him.
No,
cool stuff would happen.
Been in enough rooms where gray sweatpants are being worn. I'm good.
What about Nick Cage?
I don't want to get in the cage with Nick Cage. That doesn't sound fun either.
What?
No. Bill Walton. I want to get in the cage with Bill Walton.
Yeah? You like Bill Walton?
Bill Walton's cool. I like the mellow. I don't need the crazy, I'm going to get in your face, talk about fighting people.
You know, Nick Cage...
I love bridges.
Nick Cage was just photographed in Vegas at the Wynn, and he had 2 ladies, one on each arm, and he had this long fur coat on. I mean, it's classic Nick Cage, much like this photo of Gary Busey, classic. And so he was at the Wynn, so I text we have a guy that works at the Wynn who listens to our show, and I text him. And I said, hey, Nick Cage was in the house. Do you work with him? Do you get to talk to him? And he's like, oh yeah. He goes, Nick Cage is like a Vegas legend. He makes the rounds all the time in Vegas. And I said, well, what's the deal with Nick Cage? And he's like, dude, he could not be any nicer. You think he's like crazy like Busey?
Really?
He said he used to be a little more wild. He's much more tame now. He's calm. And he said he's super cool. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
You know what? I could be wrong on the greatness of Nicolas Cage. No, I do like him as an actor.
Oh, you're definitely wrong.
I think he's funny. Makes me laugh.
He's a little out there, but he's awesome.
Yeah, I don't think he's trying to make me laugh in some of his movies, but he does.
Right, and that's the beauty of him, is that you do chuckle at him, but yet it's a serious role. It's genius.
Right. Be so over the top that you're you're ironically funny.
Right. Now, who would you, if Klondike got to pick who to party with, like just anyone in a room that would be epic, who would you pick?
Anyone that would be epic?
'Cause I tell you what, Busey and Cage, they'd be they're on my my list of considerations for sure.
I think Rodman might be cool.
Oh.
And I know that I just said I don't like the crazy in your face, and he's kind of that. But just to say you got to do it with him.
What are you doing with him?
Drinking.
Oh. Yeah, Rodman's interesting. He's an alcoholic. That much we know. He's a bad drunk, but he's
probably other things there too.
Yeah. He could be fun. He could also maybe be a little too much. Like, I feel like, I don't know, there's something about Busey and Cage. I don't think it would be all about them. Rodman, it might just be all about him, and you just have to sit and listen to it.
But I'm okay with it being all about him in the right setting. Like, are we just getting housed and we're hanging out like in my living room?
Yeah, we got some hots.
Because if we're with some hots, he has a proven track record.
Rodman?
Of getting the hots to hang out with him.
Yeah.
And then like maybe I get the role player. He gets the star player, and I get to go hang out with the role player.
The utility gal.
The Willie Bloomquist of the group. But his Willie Bloomquist would be greater than my Willie Bloomquist.
For sure. Some runoff.
It's funny, there's a whole brand. Do you know of like Nelk or the Nelk Boys or any of that stuff? Probably not.
No, I'm too old.
Their whole brand is just getting housed and partying.
Nelk?
And they're big time, dude. Their podcast
Are they on social media?
Oh, yeah. They're social media. And they're all, whatever you think I am, doucheness-wise, multiply that by 10. That's what these bros are. But it's my generation. And they just go around, they find hots, they have their own beer brand, and they just party. And then they have a podcast. They post the videos and the pictures, and then it blows up and they make millions.
What a way to make money.
That would be a group that I would like to party with just to see how it works. Because they have to be smart to make the amount of money that they do. Because they are rich.
They're probably really entertaining. Like, I don't think you can fake, like, people like what they're probably funny.
I don't like what they, like, I don't find them funny.
They're not funny?
Not to me. It's just.
Are they like those stupid, who are those dudes who do the, who always do like the trick shots and like
Dude Perfect?
That is such a dumb bit.
They're the rated R version of Dude Perfect. That's what.
See, I don't think Dude Perfect is good. Like, I don't get it.
No, but the kids love it, and that actually does make sense to me because I'm just old enough to barely miss Dude Perfect. Like, I saw some of it like when they were first starting out, and it was cool because like, whoa, that's crazy! Look at all those trick shots they just made. But that's for like the younger generation. Those kids love it. When you look at my like college age, slightly out of college age kids, there's a lot of people that are getting down with the Nelk boys. They're an interesting crew. Very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking at their feed here. Okay.
Am I wrong? It's them partying with hots. That's what they do. And then they interview Trump every like 6 months.
Oh, they interview Trump. They've got that little guy. I don't know. I got to be careful.
Steiny?
Yeah, is that his name? The little dude who's always like picking fights with people. He's like UFC guy.
Hasbullah?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're in tight with Bula.
They've got him.
I do like Bula. Bula's funny. Bula's objectively funny. The fact that he punches everybody.
All right. Well, why are we talking about that? Oh, so you think you would party with them?
Just to see what would happen. Or the Vancouver Ford text line, Bert Kreischer would be cool too.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
But
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't know that he parties. I think you'd just be hanging out with him and his animals, and that might be weird.
That would be great. Jeff Bridges. You know, everybody's bringing up all Sooks guys. Those are Sook guys. Bridges and Schwarzenegger and Kreischer.
Yeah, Bert I went and saw him at the Fully Loaded Festival. That dude was house the whole time. That seems like fun.
Yeah, we had him in studio one time years ago. He seems like a regular dude, just a good dude. All right, we got to get back on track here. Okay, I've got Mile High Club news.
Ooh.
Yeah. More trouble on a flight. This is, I don't know what, Spirit Airlines, of course. We'll tell you what this guy did to get kicked off. We'll do that next on The Fan.
The Seahawks come up short.
at least in the eyes of these two reporters, quite overrated. Never done it. Never tried.
Never even broached the question.
No, I think it would be weird. Never even had the opportunity.
Doesn't seem like it.
It's a weird one. It's a weird one. But, of course, for those that don't know, that's doing it in the airplane bathroom. This was a Spirit Airlines flight from Louisville to Orlando this past Tuesday. And this man was from Detroit, and he is facing federal charges after he allegedly drunkenly propositioned two flight attendants twice about joining the Mile High Club during his first ever flight. So this is a 47-year-old dude. His name is James Finister. He grabbed one of the flight attendants and laid down on the floor of the plane after he was moved a third time due to his disruptive and intimidating behaviors. This is Spirit Airlines. The flight attendants were forced to stop service and pick him off the floor. Now, thank God they didn't turn around the flight. They kept going to Orlando. See what I mean? Keep going. So he told authorities he consumed multiple alcoholic shots to calm his nerves prior to the flight, which he stated was his first. So he's claiming this is his first ever flight, which is bullsh, because if he's from Detroit, how did he get to Louisville?
Good drive. I mean,
I guess, but then why is he flying? I don't buy anything this guy says. He said, so they arrested him on one count of interference with the flight crew, a charge that carries up to 20 years in jail. So hours after he was released, he told the Daily Beast that the charges were bogus and insisted that he had been asleep for most of the flight. He said he got drunk before boarding to ease his nervousness about flying for the first time, and he remembers the flight differently than federal prosecutors. He said, when I first walked in the plane, I made a joke. I said, this is one of those mile-high flights. They laughed and sat me by the window because it was my first time flying. I was talking to a father and son next to me. We took off. I see the clouds. I fell asleep for 2 hours. The complaint against him paints a vastly different picture. Approximately an hour into the flight, he asked the lead flight attendant if she wanted to join the Mile High Club. That's probably not the way to join the Mile High Club.
Oh, shoot or shoot, man.
You think she said yes?
I think she, much like Summer Rae, said no.
Has a flight attendant ever said yes to that question?
According to movies, at some point, yeah. According to movies and TV shows
I don't
I've
know.
seen.
I want to hear from flight attendants.
I feel like no.
Or pilots. Or people in aviation. I gotta think the Mile High Club is rare.
Well, how many people are really like throwing the proposition out that aren't on like private jets?
Right. Exactly.
Like, hey, let's go in the back of this Delta flight and get after it.
Yeah. Now the PJs, I got you there. I'm sure that happens quite often. Because I think in that instance, you can maybe even have some privacy, right? Like you don't even have to be in the bathroom. You just do your thing.
Put the partition up?
Yeah.
Is it like a limo?
I don't know. I wish I knew.
I would never know. I will never know.
So, approximately an hour into the flight, he asked the lead flight attendant if she wanted to join the Mile High Club. He was originally assigned to 18D, but he never sat in that seat. At the time of this interaction with the lead flight attendant, he was reassigned to 22A, which was a window seat. He then allegedly intentionally grabbed a female aircraft flight attendant and pulled her into his seat and asked her if she wanted to join the Mile High Club. This is a different incident. And you can't see, he's facing 20 years because he grabbed her. You can't be doing that. He also allegedly asked the flight attendant multiple questions about the plane's cockpit, which alarmed her. At that point, he laid down in the aisle, interrupting the in-flight service and forcing flight attendants to pick him up, and denying other passengers cocktails. I wouldn't like that. No. He told the outlet he didn't remember doing any of what the complaint said, which was filed on Wednesday. The first-time flyer also insisted he didn't put his hands on anyone and asked questions about the cockpit only out of curiosity. He said, I asked about the cockpit, like, is that the cockpit up there? I've never been on a plane. I wanted to have a look. And so they took me to jail. The charges are so bogus.
A great man is being silenced, Rob.
And then he says, it really ain't no charge.
He dropped an ain't no charge. Yeah, this guy did this.
Totally.
Like, yeah, I know you should wait until, like, the judge comes down. This guy did this.
For sure. He's facing federal charges. You think they're just going to make it up?
Right. Well, and
dumbass.
I know that Spirit doesn't have a sterling reputation, but I feel like you're not going to be able to get. I feel like he picked that flight to try and get away with this.
Right. That's like a Tuesday on Spirit Air.
And he's like, which one is most likely? Spirit is the trashiest, therefore I will try Spirit.
Well, hey, to that point, what if somebody just leaned into the whole Mile High Club thing and made Mile High Air?
That's out there, dude.
It is?
Yeah. Vegas.
Mile High Air?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Like an airline?
Yes. And it's like a private jet type deal. It's not a private jet, but it's a single flight. Yeah, there's like a bed and everything.
What?
Yeah. How have you not looked this up, man?
Never heard of it. Are you talking about Love Cloud? Romantic tours over Vegas. Oh, yeah. I see. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like it's only you and your lover.
Well, and the pilot.
Yeah, but the pilot's like they can't see back there. And then it's like a small, it's like one of those planes you take to band and they take the seats out.
It's a trashy plane, man. It is like if you bought a van and took the seats out and threw a bed in there.
That's not I guess that's the Mile High Club, but that's not, I don't know. That's gimmicky Vegas crap. I'm talking about Mile High Air, man. Anything goes. You come on our plane, you pay a premium, you sign an NDA. Let's get it on. Wouldn't that be something?
I don't think that would last very long.
Probably not.
Because the people that... You have to find a very weird cross-section of people with enough money to be able to afford that flight, but also horny enough to demand access to this flight.
You know how much the Love Cloud costs?
It's like $1,000, isn't it?
Yeah, $995. They fly you and a partner in a private airplane for 45 minutes. Don't need that long.
No, you do not.
So you can have sex.
It's about 43 minutes too long.
Too long. Can I get a refund? No. It says you don't have to have sex. You could actually get married, and you can pay $1,195 to get married on board. That's stupid. What a stupid place to get married.
It's romantic.
What a bad idea. Get out of here with that.
People clearly pay for it.
I know.
I mean, it has to be a great business model, or at least good enough. Because I remember we looked this up in college, a bunch of drunk bros Saturday night, like, what would be the easiest way to do this?
Like the Zelk brothers, or what are they called?
Nelk.
The Nelks.
It was Saturday. It was for the boys. And like we looked it up. And this is 3-4 years ago in college. So if it's still around, people are paying for it. I wouldn't be.
Somebody said, remember Playboy Airlines?
No, I don't.
I think it was the thing.
I remember Hooters Airlines.
Ooh, there you go. Hooters Air.
Yeah, Hooters was always kind of a
little overrated.
They always come out and tell you like, hey, look at Hooters. And when you're like a middle school boy, you're like, awesome. And then you go there and you're like, nah, this isn't that great. And then half of Hawkinson works there. And it's like, man, I'm not going there.
There's a Hooters in Hawkinson?
No, but there was a time where if you were a hot,
you'd work. That's
and
where
you were within 2 years of my graduating class. Either way, you worked at the Hooters down in Jansen Beach at some point.
Did you work your way through the Hooters swath? Did you in Hawkinson?
No,
Vancouver.
No, you've seen what I used to look like. The Hooters girls were not. They were not a fan of what I was putting down.
I always thought it was weird. Hey, go eat a chicken sandwich and some wings, and then creepily stare at the servers. I mean, we do that anyway.
But now they make it easier with white t-shirts.
Yeah. What a dumb bit.
It's worked long enough. I mean, they're a $1 billion company, aren't they?
I think they're out of business.
What?
Yeah, we talked about this not too long ago.
Well, the Jansen Beach one, but I'm talking about the whole company.
Yeah, I think they've really lost their... I think they've lost a lot. It's over. Look, that ship has sailed. Okay?
Well, it's kind of like network TV, now that there's HBO and the internet. You don't need to go there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was a simpler time.
Also, Portland's probably a bad spot for it. Just saying.
Oh, for sure.
Might work better in like Provo, Utah or something. Salt Lake City.
There are 302 Hooters restaurants in the U.S. Texas has the most.
Not shocked by that.
That's more than I would have thought.
I think it goes well down in the South. They do okay in the South.
I haven't been to Hooters in years.
Same.
All right. Well, anyway, that dude's facing 20. And he's full of crap.
Yes. Yes, he is.
Can AI... So yesterday we asked the question, can AI find a romantic match for us? And the answer is yes.
It's terrifying.
The next question... Well, I was saying this was at the end of the show last night, but, and you being a single guy, maybe because Jordan's married and Suk's in a long-term relationship, probably married. And of course I am married. But if I were in the dating world, I would love speed dating. I think that's great.
It's what Tinder is. And Hinge.
Well, no, see, I know enough people that are single and have talked to enough people about what the dating world is like on Tinder and all that crap, that it kind of sucks. People do not, at least the people that I've talked to, they do not speak highly of the process. It's a beating and a waste of time, and there's a lot of it's a lot of bullshit, and it's just there's a lot to weed through. That would just suck. I think speed dating, the idea of, and I don't know how speed dating really works, but I think I know from the movies, you go into a restaurant and there's like 30 people there, 15 dudes, 15 women, and you just sit at a table and you just rotate. And you talk to them for 5 minutes and you're done in an hour or however long it is. And then you then go on a date with who you like. That's fantastic. Because I know within 5 minutes if I want to go on another date with you or if I want to hang with you, you know?
I don't know. Sometimes people, they can surprise you.
Yeah, I guess. But I don't know. I would be into speed dating if I were in the dating world. Sounds like not Will Ortner's style.
I mean, I'll be honest. I knew in the first minute the last person was like, let's go on another date. This would be great.
See what I mean? That's what I mean.
But that was person. I have more of a slow burn effect on my previous relationships. I think
you grow on them like a fungus.
Yeah, I'm just around, and then people realize,
yeah, he's all right.
He could be worse.
I'll settle.
Not anymore. I'm losing the weight, dude.
So can AI undress women in photos? That's the next question. That's next. Here's Will.
This is a Wild Card Week edition of Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
Brought to you by George McCoy at WarrenAllen.com.
Now, from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
Sports Center is brought to you by Vulcan Design and Construction. Check out their award-winning outdoor living designs or schedule your free design consultation at vulcandc.com. First on The Fan, 2 big coaching moves, one in the NFL, one in college football. In the NFL, Bill Belichick, he is no longer the head coach of the New England Patriots. This is the first time in 24 seasons they will be looking for someone new at the helm. During his time in Foxborough, Belichick helped lead the Pats to 6 titles. The other big announcement, sure to excite Duck fans, Coach Dan Lanning, he announced today on social media he will be staying in Eugene. He will not be looking to be the next head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. The Trailblazers are back in action tonight. They just got back from halftime. They're in the third quarter right now. They are down 97-50 to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Right now, Anthony Simons, he's leading the Blazers in points. He's got 14 in that one. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Will Ortner from the Spirit Mountain Casino Sports Desk. Get in the game at Spirit Mountain Casino. Watch and wager on all the pro football playoff action. Learn more at spiritmountain.com.
The inside story on the Blazers, Ducks, and Beavers. Danny and Dusty. Weekdays noon to 3 on the Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
X Golf is the home of indoor golf. We've got a full bar and
Coach.
I think they'd be better.
I don't think that their issues right now are Chauncey Billups only related.
Well, I'm not saying they are. I'm just saying, like, at some point, you, like, I don't know, now they're down 51. Is this gonna, are they going to lose by 80? I don't know. At some point, it's on the coach, isn't it?
It's on somebody. That's
Play
for
hard.
Sure.
I mean, they're
young. They're young. They're figuring it out.
Oklahoma City is shooting 64%.
From the field?
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Yes. Oh, my God is right.
SGA had 30 last time I looked.
I'm going to pull up DraftKings. Let's live bet this.
No, thank you.
How much did they lose by? Let's see what we got here.
Well, last time they lost by 45, so no improvement yet.
All right, so they're down by 51. Oklahoma City right now is favored by 46.5. You telling me the Blazers are going to cut into that?
I would not bet on them covering that, no.
Oh, now it's 50.5. Damn it. We missed our window. Now they're down by 53.
When do you call up the Dogs? This is like a 4A high school basketball team taking on a 1B.
Yeah, it is true. Holmgren's still in there, it looks like. Or maybe he's not. No, they've emptied. No, Oklahoma City has all of their scrubs in there. By the way. Oh, never mind. I need to brush up on my NBA rosters.
What were you about to talk
Nothing.
about? Did you just learn they have 2 Jalen Williams?
No, I saw A. Wiggins, and I thought, wait a minute. When did Andrew Wiggins?
Different Wiggins?
Yeah, different Wiggins.
That's his long-lost brother.
Look, I'll catch up on some NBA in February after the Super Bowl, okay? But my God, the Blazers, wow. You guys watching them?
I know 2 people specifically who
that still watch them.
Yeah, well, I mean they have to. They do a show.
Oh yeah, well I just
great
mean
show.
I mean like like one of the Royals were so bad. I don't know. I didn't watch them. I can't watch that.
I'm more into hockey right now.
I'm watching a real sport, golf.
There you go.
Sahith Theegala.
Who won the tournament last weekend?
Chris Kirk.
Is he a name to watch?
Well, he's pretty good, but
young Sparky.
Chris Kirk is the guy that I always use as the example of. Okay, so first of all, here's what you need to know about Chris Kirk. He's an alcoholic, but he is sober now. He said that he's had some trouble with the boozy woozy.
Yeah, he's recovering.
He's a great player. He's a very good player. Syrupy swing, tall, lanky guy, very boring. Wears khakis. Like, he is quintessential boring golfer guy.
Works at State Farm.
Yeah. But I'll give you his life, but you have to be him.
And I can't drink?
No, he's sober. I'm sure he had some good times at some. He's the one that said, after a good round, I would drink because I was high from having the good round. I'd want to celebrate. And having a bad round, I'd drink to, wash it away, and it ended up being a drunk.
I don't know.
Seems like a good dude, but
yeah,
he's worth probably $4 or $5 million, maybe more. Yeah, probably more.
Will Ortner's life isn't that bad.
Yeah,
there's not many people I'm trading lives with. I'll be honest about that.
When push came to shove, I tend to agree.
I just feel like maybe that'll change in like 20 years once I've reached my potential. But I feel like there's still some stuff that could go my way.
What if I said to you, what if we go out one night?
Dude.
And I said, Ortner, I want you to pick one human being that we see tonight. And we are going to trade portfolios with them. In other words, you stay Will Ortner, but you get how much they're worth. And they get how much you're worth, which is probably nothing. No offense.
I have more than you think. I don't have a lot, but I have more than you think.
Would you do that? Do you think you could?
Depends on where are we going out?
Exactly.
Are we going out to a dive bar?
See, we're talking.
Going out to like some fancy rooftop party.
How about something in the middle? How about we go to a brewery?
A brewery.
And within 4 hours, you got to pick somebody. Male, female.
And I just get to go based on looks?
Yep. You can't talk to him. You're just like, that's the guy. and then you find out he's in debt up to his eyeballs.
Yeah, that's the other thing. I have literally no debt.
Well, okay, that's another consideration.
There are no loans. I don't understand how credit cards work.
Then if I'm you,
so I stay away.
I wouldn't do this exercise. If I'm you, you're fine. You're young. You have no debt. You're fine. Let's say you're 45-year-old Will Ortner, and you just can't make ends meet. You never have, because you're such a slub.
Right. I'm still working pilot games.
You're still producing.
I'm still a fill-in. I'm subbing on the side.
You're worth nothing. You racked up a little bit of debt. You're like, okay, I'll take the plunge. I'll do this exercise.
I would do that exercise.
Yeah. You could probably find the person, right?
I think I'm young enough to where I get some leniency and I still stay myself. I think you give me 5 to 10 years. If I'm still in the same, I wouldn't be in the same.
Now, what would you be looking for? That's the next question about this exercise.
What would I look?
What would you look for in the person that you will be stealing their portfolio? Like, for me, as I get older, I realize that, you don't, you could play it, put it this way. You could play it safe and pick somebody who is older.
Right.
Most of the time, if you're just decently
successful,
not even successful, just wise, you don't have to make a ton of money to have a bank account worth trading.
Right. Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
So you could play it safe and go for the old person. So probably that old guy over there probably got some dough, close to retirement. There's a decent portfolio there. Or you could go look for the flashy, the guy with the car.
Right.
And the shades and the babes.
Right.
Go for that guy. You go for the girl.
The girl might be the sneaky good pick.
Exactly.
Depending on who the girl is, that might be the sneaky good pick.
Exactly.
I think what I'm doing is I'm looking at how they interact with their group and how the group interacts with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can kind of look at a group and right away tell who's the alpha of this group.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, I think the alpha in that group is the alpha because of
status,
what they're making, or how they treat others. And if they're treating others well, it's going to be largely because of they have some money. How are they talking to others? Do they talk about, well, I was out in Paris, France watching the Cleveland Cavaliers take on the Brooklyn Nets? Are they going to have stories like that? That's who I think I'm probably going for. Male or female. I'm an equal opportunity.
So you're eavesdropping.
Yeah, I think you have to be. Because if you're just going pure off look, how many times have you seen a dude with aviators? He's got the nice car. He's got the nice coat.
He's got nothing.
Leather. And it's like, oh, dude, you're such a fraud.
I'm just looking for the oldest white guy.
I'm not doing that either. I know a lot of old white dudes that...
Dude, they're penny pinchers, man.
Not all of them.
Yeah, most of them.
And by the time we start doing this, most of the old white dudes right now they'd be dead. I'd be looking at like the 60-year-old white dude now. Because in 10 years, they'd be the old white dude. So
it's all relative,
Age is a number, Rob.
Don't I know it? Almost 48. Ortner. I mean, almost 50.
You're only as old as you feel. You're almost 50. You're 49.
48, bro.
Oh.
You want some of this?
HR?
I don't know why I asked you that.
No. I've told you. I still have hopes and dreams.
Yeah,
I might dumb my way into something.
It won't be too much longer before that dies.
I got a game plan.
The world beats you down, and then you start an OnlyFans.
Dude.
Hey, you should do that.
If I could start an OnlyFans, that would have been started long ago.
There are guys that do it.
Yeah, but
guys your age.
They don't look like me.
Well,
they're not hanging out for 43 minutes on the airplane ride, if you get my drift.
Well, I'm just saying, there are ways to make money. This guy, somebody on the text was bringing it up. I read a story recently about YouTubers. A lot of the YouTubers are quitting. They're retiring.
They're moving to different platforms. None of them.
They got a bunch of money. They're just not. They're like, I'm done. Because they've made so much money.
I'll be interested to see if that's the truth in like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I think
be
they're-
back.
I think
it's like
they're
the athlete
moving
that makes a S ton of money and then they're broke.
Right. I also think they're moving it around.
What's the new hot? What do you got to be on right now to be a influencer?
It depends. I mean, like if you're you're doing TikTok or you're doing Instagram. If you're a streamer, aka a douche,
Twitch.
You're on Kick. Twitch is old news, bro.
Kick, bro.
We're on Twitch.
Are we?
Who
runs that?
Once we're on, I do right now. Yeah. I'm running.
Tell the Twitchsters hi. How many people are on Twitch right now watching?
I don't know. I'd have to go into multi-stream.
This one's for you,
bro.
All right. Well, we got to nothing we wanted to there.
No.
But that's okay. We will wrap it up next on The Fan.
The
This is like a new bit. When the Blazers are playing and we're on the air, we should just check in. Like, how many are the Blazers down by?
Gosh, it's depressing.
New fun game. They're now down by 56.
It was 61 at one point.
It was, yeah, because they're winning the fourth quarter 9-3. So that, when we looked at the live spread at, what was it, 46? That was a lock.
That was an easy cover.
Now it's 53.5.
Wow. Hey, Steve Nash is in Santa Clara.
What's he doing there? Well, he went there. He went to Santa Clara. What do you mean, Santa? What are you looking at? What are you watching?
I'm watching Gonzaga basketball.
The Zags.
Yeah. Pilots basketball, 7:30, 910 ESPN Portland.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Swag on the call. Where are they playing tonight?
Of course he's on the call.
Don't we have the Ducks after us?
St. Mary's. Ducks, they have the bye.
What?
They have a bye.
Oh.
I think.
Well,
it's not playing today.
Oh,
on after us. Hold on. Let me go check. It's a basketball game.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I thought it was Ducks. Okay.
I think it's NBA. It's Lakers, I think.
You know, I got to say something here. I'm going to talk sports for a second. When you're down 60 points, and I know they're young, but that's effort, right? Like, even though they're young, you shouldn't be down 60 points. 60.
60 is rough. Suns Lakers next.
Oh, okay. Suns Lakers. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like some of it is on the coach. It's like you should play, like, you're not even trying. Fire Chauncey.
Maybe they are trying. Maybe they're just struggling.
Dude, if they're trying and they're and it's, what is it? 58.